7:30, again on the fourth Friday of each month. There are a few exceptions. You might want to check our website. This last month there was a booking in that room, so we had to go to a different room, but usually we're in the Science Learning Center. 7 o'clock, there's usually some sort of like new members or potential members thing going on, so you're welcome to come a half hour early. Also, on the Saturdays of each month in the evenings, there are observing sessions somewhere in the Metroplex. The first Friday of each month, the Spring Park Star Party is in Garland. The next one will be on November the 2nd. On the second Saturday of each month, that would be the Frisco Star Party at Frisco Commons Park, the Star Fest. The next one will be on Saturday, November the 9th. Tonight, this is the Cedar Hill Starbolt at J.W. Williams Park in Cedar Hill. Is there anyone at that Star Party that's a ham radio operator that would like to report in to let us know what's going on at that Star Party? Come now, what's your call time? I guess the answer is no, but the sky's been clear. It looks like it's a great evening for observing. Lots of things to look at. I'll talk about some of those later on in my segment of What Is Up later on in Skynet. Also on the fourth Saturday of each month, Stars on the Rock is held at the Shores Park in Rockwell. There is probably maybe a new location coming for that Star Party, so we'll let you know about that. But that one's going to be next Saturday on October the 26th. Also on October the 26th, there's going to be a ghost hunt. Again, I'll talk a little bit more about that on my segment of What's Up, but that'll be at the Dark site in Oklahoma for the Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas. Does anybody need a fill or would like to have more information about TAS? Well, you can go to their website, texasastro.org. Does anyone need a fill? Come now. What's your call sign? Yeah, I hope I've taken long enough time for you to fix the audio on our video feeds. I'm going to give it back to you, Tom. KF5JHA. Back to you.
All right, thank you, Chaz. And yeah, I think we got it fixed. They're telling me if it's okay or not. But yeah, it's always interesting. Everything goes wrong when you have an abbreviated time to get back home and on the net. I had about 20 minutes. Thought I had everything set up, and of course, Murphy's Law says no. You need more time than you have. So, at any rate, okay. Let me give an announcement for the National Space Society. Bill, N5BP, is out in California. He is with a sick family member out there, and I hope everything goes okay. But if you want to know more about the National Space Society, you can go to the NSSOFNT website, and that is, he normally covers this, so let me see here. That is the National Space Society of North Texas website. They have every month a meeting every second Monday every month at 3:30 p.m. if you're local to the area. That's at the Spring Creek Barbecue on Beltline and 183 in Irving, Texas, just a few blocks from where I work. You can get additional information by going to the website, which is NSSOFNT, November Sierra, Sierra Oscar Foxtrot November Tango.org. Does anyone need anything else? All right. Well, let's see. Let's go ahead and get started here. The discussion topic of the evening is given to the net control station. That's me tonight. And I actually stole this. I cribbed this from an article that came out of from Corey Powell at NBC News. The article itself was so fascinating I couldn't help but reread it. I think that the article says a lot about what's going on. And you probably saw the misleading story. Interstellar visitors are real. The newly discovered evidence that we are not alone. Yeah, you were thinking flying saucers or something like that. Nope. This is having to do about interstellar visitors, but of the non-corporeal or biological types. So this is what Corey has to say. 3 years ago, an automated telescope in Hawaii detected Oumuamua, the first known object from interstellar space observed passing through our solar system. Then in August, an amateur astronomer in Crimea found a second interstellar visitor, Two-eyed Borisov, suggesting that such objects come our way on a regular basis. Now scientists are eagerly developing plans to explore these messengers from afar and to learn their secrets. Imagine something that's traveled for hundreds of thousands or even millions of years through space and is now reaching us. Adrian Hine, an aerospace engineer for the Initiative for Interstellar Studies at Sheffield, England. What will it tell us about its origins? What compositions do planets that have that orbit this alien sun? Does life propagate between the stars? For now, answers are trickling in slowly from observatories on the ground and in orbit around Earth, including the intriguing new image of Borisov taken by the Hubble telescope. Home 2028 through a European spacecraft called the Comet Interceptor should be on its way to a brief encounter with another as yet undetected interstellar object. Hines and his colleagues have an even grander project in mind. They've drawn up plans for Project Europa, a space probe that could travel fast enough to overtake either Oumuamua or Borisov or another interstellar object as it speeds its way out of the solar system, reaching either one by the mid-2040s. So Hines, launching a Project Europa would be akin to building humanity's first starship and doing it on the cheap. Says we don't have the capability of reaching another star system within the next few decades at least, but having the opportunity to study a big chunk of material from another star is a bit like flying to another star, he says. It is a literal version of if you can't go to the mountain, let the mountain come to you. The many mysteries surrounding Oumuamua have further boosted the desire to see one of these interstellar visitors up close. Researchers anticipated that the vast majority of interstellar objects would be comets, but Oumuamua sure didn't look like one. It was strangely elongated with a half-mile-long cylinder tumbling as it went. It also displayed no comet-like trail, and it sped up slightly as it moved away from the sun. These oddities led a Harvard astronomer, Aviv Loeb, to float the controversial idea that Oumuamua might not be a comet at all, but an alien spacecraft. In contrast, Borisov seems to mostly resemble the comets in our solar system. It appears to be of a very different nature than Oumuamua, Loeb says, but when you walk down the street and notice a weird person, the fact that later on you encounter many normal people does not take away the weirdness of that first unusual person. Chaz. Alas, the European Space Agency's Comet Interceptor will be unable to reach either of these devices, either of these objects. In fact, it wasn't designed to go after an interstellar object at all. The original plan was that after its launch in 2028, the one-time spacecraft would park itself in orbit around around the sun, waiting for a comet to arrive from the outskirts of our solar system. Then it would fire up its engines, making an encounter and deploying smaller probes that would come within a few hundred miles of its target. The discovery of Oumuamua and Abort has the Comet Interceptor team reconsidering its plans. By one estimate, at any time there may be about 100 interstellar objects within Jupiter's orbit around the Sun, and there's a decent chance that at least one of them will come within range of the spacecraft. If an interstellar object happened to turn up with the right trajectory on the right time, it would be too good of an opportunity to turn down, says mission co-leader Colin Snodgrass, an astronomer at the University of Edinburgh. Although Comet Interceptor's flight past an interstellar visitor would be fast and brief, it could prove highly revealing. It would be fascinating to see one up close. Either it would look like nothing we've ever seen before, or it would require new theories, or it would look surprisingly familiar, implying that there are some universal similarities of planetary systems. If you want to chase down Oumuamua or Orsop to determine their true nature, you'll need a spacecraft with a lot more oomph than the Comet Interceptor. Oumuamua is now more than 1 billion miles from Earth and speeding away from us at nearly 18 miles per second. Orsop will make its closest approach to the Sun on December 7th, and then it too will head back into interstellar space at a high speed. That is where Project Lyra comes in, or Lyra. The engineers at the nonprofit Initiative for Interstellar Studies came up with this concept based on their research into technologies for advanced space travel. The team concluded that the most promising way to reach an interstellar object is with a so-called Abort maneuver, in which a spacecraft swoops to within 2 million miles of the Sun, fires its rockets full blast, and slingshot towards the target. Using a giant rocket like NASA's long-awaited Space Launch System combined with solid rocket boosters, Hein and his group calculate they could get a speed boost of about 12 miles per second, just enough to do the job. With the 2033 launch, the scheme could deliver a small but capable probe weighing about 100 pounds to Oumuamua by 2048. Slowing down at the other end would be another challenge. Maybe we can use electric or magnetic sails, Hein suggests, and referring to the giant metal web that would create drag against the magnetic field and charged particles found in deep space. Surviving the Sun's intense heat may be an easier problem to solve. NASA's current Parker Solar Probe, which will repeatedly swing within 4 million miles of the Sun during 2020s, is testing a carbon composite heat shield that can effectively withstand temperatures of 2,500 degrees Fahrenheit. But there's another way to accelerate a mission to an interstellar object. Instead of going faster, aim closer. Rowe notes that not all of the incoming objects head back to the stars. He calculates that some might get deflected by Jupiter's gravity and trapped in an orbit around the Sun. If so, a conventional spacecraft could reach them in a matter of years. There are already a number of candidate objects known, Rowe says. He cites the particular 2015 BZ-509, a recently discovered asteroid that orbits near Jupiter, but in the opposite direction of all the planets, a likely sign of interstellar origin. Rowe also proposes scouring the surface of the Moon for debris left by other interstellar objects that may have crashed there over billions of years of lunar history. This is a timely suggestion since NASA's Artemis program could send astronauts back to the Moon as early as 2024. The realization that so much interstellar material has passed through our solar system over the eons, with more coming all the time, provides another powerful motivation to study the incoming objects up close. It is possible that a non-negligible fraction of them carry evidence for life, Rowe says. He's talking not about the derelict alien spacecraft, but a possible extraterrestrial organism or their remains, which in many ways would be just as shocking. Finding such evidence would open the possibility that alien life is raining down on us from afar, between the stars and across the galaxy, Loeb says, and that humans could be descended from extraterrestrial microbes that landed on Earth billions of years ago. It's a Hollywood-worthy twist. We're looking far off for interstellar visitors, but it could turn out that they've been here all along. So there you have it. I thought that was rather eye-popping myself when I read that. Who would have thought? I remember when Oumuamua was coming through, and it reminded me so much of the story Rendezvous with Rama, which was an alien spacecraft. The story was written by Arthur C. Clarke, who was a very nuts and bolts guy when it came to stories. He was also the father who came up with the modern geosynchronous communication satellite idea, so he was no dummy. All right, this is KE5ICX. I'm net control for tonight's. I'll take additional check-ins this evening, and then we'll go on to the next segment after that. So if you'd like to join us and tuned in, you'd like to tell us you're out there, then please come out with your call sign phonetically, your name, and where you're transmitting from.
KI5,
Great, Miss Kelly, K5KTX, you have it. Please go ahead with your report.
Thanks, and Tom, I believe somebody was doubling with you, so if we can give an opportunity for someone to check in, I will give it back to you for just a second.
All right, please go ahead. Anyone who would like to check in, please come down.
KI5, GRH, Melissa in Dallas.
Golf Uniform Sierra, Gus, for Northeast Dallas.
All right, I got two. I think there's a third one. I've got KI5GRH, Melissa in Dallas. You're checked in, W5GUS, Gus in Dallas. Gus, you have the perfect, this is double, so there may be another station out there. Please come out. Okay, I made you on. I've also got, I'll tell you what, I'll get the echoing check-ins here in a moment. Those of you on the list, I'm just far enough away I can't read it. So I've got you KB8DAA, KG5JPN, and I guess just you two. I've got you two checked in. All right, Miss Kelly, K5KTX. Go ahead with your report from KE5ICX.
Thank you, Tom. This is K5KTX, and I'm starting with some really good news from the InSight mission. InSight, or Interior Exploration Using Seismic Investigations, Geodesy, and Heat Transport, landed on Mars on November 26, 2018. One of the two primary instruments on the lander, called the Heat Flow and Physical Properties Package, or HP3, has a probe that they call the MOLE. It was deployed on February the 12th, and it is designed to dig as much as 16 feet underground to gauge the heat escaping from the planet's interior. However, the MOLE has only managed to partially bury itself since it started hammering. NASA and the German Space Agency, who built the probe, has been working to resolve the problem. JPL has sent commands for InSight to use its robotic arm to help the mole dig nearly 2 centimeters over the past week. While modest, the movement is significant. The recent movement is the result of a new strategy arrived at after extensive testing on Earth, which found that unexpectedly strong soil is holding up the mole's progress. The mole needs friction from surrounding soil in order to move. Without it, recoil from its self-hammering action will cause it to simply bounce in place. Pressing the scoop on InSight's robotic arm against the mole, a new technique called pinning appears to provide the probe with the friction it needs to continue digging. Since October the 8th, the mole has hammered 220 times over 3 separate occasions. Images sent down from the spacecraft cameras have shown the mole gradually progressing into the ground. It will take more time and hammering for the team to see how far the mole can go. Seeing the mole's progress seems to indicate that there's no rock blocking its path. NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory in Pasadena, California leads the InSight mission. JPL has tested the robotics arm movement using full-scale replicas of InSight and the mole. Engineers continue to test what would happen if the mole were to sink beneath the reach of the robotic arm. If it stops making progress, they might scrape soil on top of the mole, adding mass to resist the mole's recoil. If no other options exist, they would consider pressing the scoop down directly on top of the mole while trying to avoid the sensitive tether there. The tether provides power to and relays data from the instrument. Also, last week I mentioned about the first all-woman spacewalk. Well, it happened yesterday. Astronauts Christina Cook and Jessica Meir completed the NASA's first all-woman spacecraft. During the 7-hour, 17-minute spacewalk, the pair replaced a failed power controller and completed several other tasks in preparation for future spacewalks. They will participate in a press conference from orbit at noon Eastern on Monday, October 21st, which will be streamed on NASA TV. All right, and in space history this week, back in 1947, the first intentionally documented and survived supersonic flight occurred less than a month after the U.S. Air Force had been created as a separate service. I've emphasized those words because it's likely that other high-performance aircraft, particularly in uncontrolled dives, exceeded Mach 1 during World War II. Captain Charles Chuck Yeager piloted U.S. Air Force aircraft number 46062, nicknamed Glamorous Glennis for his wife. The airplane was drop-launched from the bomb bay of a B-29 and reached Mach 1.06, or 700 miles per hour. Following burnout of the engine, the plane glided to a landing on the dry lake bed. This was XS-1, flight number 50. The research techniques used for the X-1 program became the pattern for all subsequent X-craft projects. The X-1 project assisted the post-war cooperative union between U.S. military needs, industrial capabilities, and research facilities. The flight data collected by the NACA from the X-1 test then proved invaluable to further U.S. fighter design throughout the latter half of the 20th century. Aircraft design has advanced a great deal since the 1940s. What was once thought of as the sound barrier has since been revealed as simply a consequence of obsolete design techniques suitable only for low-speed flight. Modern passenger jets commonly cruise just below the speed of sound at their normal cruising altitude, and several large jets like the 747 have exceeded the speed of sound in test flights without any untoward incidents or control problems. Also on October 14th, back in 1989, on its third launch attempt in a week, the Space Shuttle Atlantis took to the sky on mission STS-34. The launch, which occurred 30 years ago this week, heralded a new era in planetary exploration because nestled inside the shuttle's cargo bay was Galileo, the first spacecraft designed to orbit Jupiter. After being deployed from Atlantis, Galileo followed an energy-saving path through the inner solar system, looping past Venus, Earth twice, and 2 asteroids before finally arriving at Jupiter 6 years later. Galileo spent 8 years studying the Jovian system, exponentially increasing our knowledge of Jupiter. Also this week, on October the 17th, we had two astronaut birthdays. Starting in 1933, Apollo 8 lunar module pilot William Bill Anders was born in Hong Kong. After graduating from the U.S. Naval Academy with a Bachelor of Science in Nuclear Engineering in 1955, Bill served as an officer in the U.S. Air Force, where he earned a Master of Science in Nuclear Engineering from the Air Force Institute of Technology. After being selected as a NASA astronaut in 1964, Bill was the backup pilot for Gemini 11 before getting his chance to fly as one of the first 3 humans to orbit the moon during the Apollo 8 mission in 1968. While orbiting the moon, Bill snapped the iconic Earthrise photo. Also celebrating a birthday on October the 17th, the first woman of color to fly in space, NASA astronaut Mae Jemison, was born in 1956 in Decatur, Alabama. Mae graduated with a Bachelor of Science in Chemical Engineering from Stanford University in 1977 and a doctorate in medicine from Cornell University in 1981 before joining the Peace Corps. After serving as the Area Peace Corps Medical Officer for Sierra Leone and Liberia from 1983 to 1985, Mae applied for the astronaut program. She was selected in 1987 and served as the Science Mission Specialist on the Space Shuttle Endeavour STS-47 Space Lab J mission in 1992. She logged 190 hours, 30 minutes, and 23 seconds in space. She left NASA in 1993 but continues to be an advocate for space and mentor for the next generation of explorers. And today, back in 1910, Subramanian Chandrasekhar, I know I'm going to butcher his name, was born. He was an Indian-American astrophysicist who spent his professional life in the United States. He was awarded the 1983 Nobel Prize for Physics with William A. Fowler for theoretical studies of the physical processes of importance to the structure and evolution of the stars. His mathematical treatment of the stellar evolution yielded many of the current theoretical models of the later evolutionary stages of massive stars and black holes. Chandrasekhar worked on a wide variety of physical problems in his lifetime, contributing to the contemporary understanding of stellar structure, white dwarfs, stellar dynamics, stochastic process, radiative transfer, the quantity of the hydrogen anion, hydrodynamic and hydromagnetic stability, turbulence, equilibrium, and the stability of ellipsoidal figures of equilibrium, general relativity, mathematical theory of black holes, and theory of colliding gravitational waves. Too bad he didn't do anything during his life. Most famously, the popular press, Chandrasekhar showed that the mass of a white dwarf could not exceed 1.44 times that of the Sun, the Chandrasekhar limit. Stars larger than that size become a neutron star or a black hole at the end of their life. The Chandra X-ray Observatory was named in his honor. And that's all I've got for this evening. This is K5 KTX. Back to you, Tom.
Thank you, Miss Kelly, and congratulations on pronouncing his last name. When I saw that again, I went, oh boy, that's a tough one. Oh, you did well. This is KE5ICX and Net Control tonight, Skynet. I got a couple other people who are checked in. I've got KG5IWK, that's Billy. I also have Philip, K5KOB, that's Philip in Crandall. He's checked in over via the stream. And I also have, I think that's, and JJ, N5IMS. I caught him just after over on Echolink. So you guys are checked in, making total 24 this evening. So next up on our list is What's Up with Chaz, KF5JHA. Are you ready?
With a battery. Ready? Thank you, Tom. Good evening, everyone. This is Chaz, KF5JHA. My degree is in astrophysics. I work at Brookhaven Community College, and we call this segment of Skynet What's Up. Next weekend, the Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas will be hosting a ghost hunt at their Oklahoma dark side. It's supposed to be looking for faint, fuzzy things, as long as the weather is good. You know, sort of ghostly figures in the sky. Nebulas, faint star clusters, galaxies, those kind of things. I hope to be using my 16-inch stop to look at some of those things, so I'll probably not be on Echolink unless the weather's bad, and then I'll stay home. So next week, I'll try to get on through Echolink. So the TV commercial tagline from long ago, "A little dot will do you," is not what I'll be saying with my 16-inch dial that I'll be using. We have briefly talked about trying to find Venus in the evening sky just after sunset. I want all of you to try this week to find Venus in the evening sky. First, you will need a western sky that allows you to see clear down to the horizon. No trees or other things in the way. The sun sets around 6:50 p.m. Central Daylight Time this week in the DFW area. About a half hour after sunset, around 7:20, start looking for an object that doesn't move quickly, just a little bit south of west in the evening sky. It's not going to be moving like an airplane. Rather, look for an object that gets a little bit closer to the horizon over a few minutes. If you have a pair of binoculars, take a look at the object, and you won't see any flashing lights on it like an airplane has. This non-flashing light object should be Venus. And using binoculars, you may be able to see just to the left of Venus another fainter dot of light, and that could be the planet Mercury. Really bright object further to the left and much higher in the sky is Jupiter. Depending on the type of binoculars and how steady you hold them, you may see 1, 2, 3, or all 4 of the Galilean moons. Since the moons are in constant motion around Jupiter, a simple free computer software program such as Stellarium will be required to identify which one of the moons or which locations around Jupiter. Saturn is further to the left and fainter than Jupiter and higher up in the sky. If you have a high-powered pair of binoculars, you may get a hint of Saturn's rings. In my 20 by 80 binoculars, I can start seeing the rings of Saturn through them. So that makes 4 planets in just a few minutes. Would you like to try for one more? Okay. Then look down at your feet. Do you see it? But yeah, with these jokes, I do plan it this way, you know. I am KF5JHA, and this is Skynet. Last week I talked about the Milky Way and how it stretches from the southwestern horizon through the zenith into the northeastern horizon just as it gets dark this time of year. If you get a chance to get away from the city lights and observe the Milky Way over the next week to 10 days, you'll have a treat. Take those binoculars with you. And last week I also talked about the constellations of Cassiopeia, Cepheus, Andromeda, Pegasus, Perseus, and Cetus, and the mythological story that links them. Let's look at a few other things in the northern sky tonight. Oh, in the northeastern sky at sunset, you can find the Big Dipper. 3 stars make up, I said northeastern sky? No, it's the northwestern sky. So low in the northwestern sky at sunset, you can find the Big Dipper. 3 stars make up its curved handle and 4 stars for its bowl. The Big Dipper is not an official constellation, but rather part of a constellation, and it's called an asterism. The Big Dipper is part of the constellation of Ursa Major, the Big Bear. Ursa Major is standing on the northwestern horizon. The bowl of the Big Dipper is the body of the bear. Some stars to the right of the bowl make up his head. A few stars below the bowl make up his legs. And the handle of the Big Dipper is the tail of the bear. Now, why does the Big Bear have such a long tail? Well, there is a story behind that, but that's a tale too long to tell right here and right now. Following the curve of the arc of the handle of the Big Dipper, to the left you'll run into the bright star Arcturus. This is the brightest star in the constellation of Boötes, birdsmen or shepherds. For many people, Boötes looks like either a kite or an ice cream cone. I guess with the warm day we had today and the warmer one we have tomorrow, it's an ice cream cone. Let's go back to the Big Dipper and draw a line from the star at the bottom of the bowl, that's on the side opposite the handle, that's called Merak, to the star to the top of that bowl, called Dubhe. These two stars are called the pointer stars because they point right at a very special star. Keep on drawing a line from the pointer stars until you run into another star. This is the North Star, also known as Polaris. It isn't very bright. It's the 49th brightest star in the sky. And Polaris is famous because it is so close to the North Celestial Pole that it doesn't move very much over the course of the night, nor much over the course of an entire year. Polaris's altitude is the same as the northern latitude in which you're looking. Here in the DFW area, we are at about 33 degrees north latitude, and so Polaris is 33 degrees high in altitude. Polaris is the inside of the handle of the Little Dipper. Most of the stars in the Little Dipper are too faint to be seen inside the city. In between the Big Dipper pointer stars and Polaris, there's a faint star that is at the end of the tail of Draco, the dragon. Draco has lots of faint stars, and again, they are difficult to see inside the city, but Draco is sort of like a Chinese parade dragon that wraps its way around the bowl of the Little Dipper, protecting Polaris. The bright star in the head of Draco, called Edaman, is very near the bright star Vega, which is close to the zenith. Now, I know I've been dragging on about these constellations, but I think it was worth it. Get it? Dragging on? Okay. And I am KF5JHA, and this is Skynet. Our moon was full on October the 13th, so tonight the moon's phase is a waning gibbous. The moon will be at the last quarter on October the 21st, just in a few days, and the moon will be at its new phase on October the 27th. We've had 4 minor meteor showers over the last 3 weeks. One a minor meteor shower, the Epsilon Geminids, just peaked 2 nights ago. But one of our major annual meteor showers, the Orionids, will peak in just a couple of nights from now on October the 21st, 22nd, with about 20 to 30 meteors per hour. Unfortunately, the third quarter moon will interfere with seeing the fainter meteors in the early morning sky. Monday, November the 11th, 2019. This is not too far away. That's Veterans Day. We will be able to observe a transit of Mercury in North Texas. Now, what is a transit of Mercury? 2 planets in our solar system orbit the sun inside the orbit of the Earth. Occasionally, one of these planets, Mercury or Venus, are in a direct alignment between the Earth and the Sun, and we can see that planet going across the disk of the Sun. Of course, you have to have proper eye protection, and to have the proper filtering to be able to see this with telescopes or binoculars. Venus only transits the Sun about twice every 120 years or so, and its next transit isn't until December the 10th, the year 2117. So we won't talk anymore about that event for a while. Now, on average, every 10 years or so, Mercury transits the Sun. The last time Mercury transited the Sun was May the 9th, 2016, just a few years ago. And after November 11th, 2019 Mercury transit, the next transit of Mercury visible in North Texas won't occur until May 7th in the year 2049. So you need to go take a look at this one. I hope the weather is clear. On November the transit of Mercury begins before sunrise here in North Texas. It begins at 6:35 a.m. Central Standard Time. The sunrise occurs around here around 6:56 a.m. Central Standard Time. And that is when we'll be able to begin to see the transit. Mercury will take several hours across the face of the sun. It will exit the disk of the sun just afternoon at around 12:04 p.m. Central Standard Time. The Texas Astronomical Society and Brookhaven College are hosting an observing of the November 11th transit of Mercury on the Brookhaven campus. It's in the plaza between Building X and Building K. Also, the Texas Astronomical Society is planning on supporting telescopes at the UT Dallas campus as well. You can probably find more details about that at texasastro.org. Once again, I am KF5JHA, and this is Skynet. Don't forget that the Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas has telescopes set up somewhere in the Metroplex on almost every Saturday night. Check their website, once again, texasastro.org for details. Tonight, the observing is at Cedar Hill, so let me try it once again. Is there a ham radio operator at that event that would like to give a report? If so, please come now with your call sign. All right, I guess not. Well, now before I end, do any of you out there in Radio Land have any questions or need of so? Or have any questions on general astronomy? I don't know everything, but I might know the answer to your question. Come now with your call sign if you have a question.
KG5B. Kilo, Charlie, 3, Charlie, Delta, Uniform.
Let's start with Mike first. Go ahead, Mike. Come out with your question.
Yes, thank you, Chaz. Yes, my question is what did the big bear do when he lost his tail? What did Ursa Major do when he lost his tail?
Well, I can think of a few things, but I'll let you go ahead and post it on that one, Mike. Go ahead. Let us know.
Well, I thought for sure you'd have this answer. Well, he went to a retail store. Where else? KG5P.
I go to Dollar Tree all the time. I'll bet we can find some tails for him there. Yeah. Okay, I believe CDU is the other person. Come now with your question.
Okay, so I do apologize if this has already been answered. I may have missed it in the whole thing with you guys reading articles. When is the next mission aboard the International Space Station? It sounds like that's going to be this Monday. Is that correct? And if so, what time would that take place? I am in Eastern Standard Time. This is KC3 TVU. Thanks for taking my question, and thanks for doing the net. It's the first time I've been here, and although it sounds like a mixture of Art Bell and Alex Jones, I've enjoyed it.
Before we get to the recheck, let me see if we can get Kelly to help us out with that. Kelly, we have, of course, continuous astronauts on board the ISS for the last many, many 10 years, if I remember right. But Kelly, when's the next mission to the ISS? I think that's his question. So now, Kelly.
This is K5KTX, and they just recently had a mission that brought up some additional astronauts to the space station. So there's not a launch anytime soon, but there is a resupply mission that's coming up on November the 2nd. Eastern time would be, the launch would be at 9:59 a.m. So this is going to be the cargo resupply mission 12. Northrop Grumman, so there's going to be some pretty neat cargo that's going to be on there, including the alpha magnetic spectrometer, too, and, of course, I'm sure lots of supplies. So that's coming up on November the 2nd. There's a couple of things coming up, though, within the next couple of months that would be very interesting. One of those is that, of course, both Boeing and SpaceX are working on returning our astronauts to the International Space Station from American soil. And so some of those flights were supposed to take place this year, crewed flights, but both of those companies had pushed those back. So, but there are some upcoming things that are going to take place. November the 4th, the commercial crew Boeing pad abort test is going to take place. That's going to take place at the White Sands Missile Range in New Mexico. And then SpaceX, of course, has already done their uncrewed test flight, which was a resounding success a while back. But the Boeing Starliner will have its opportunity on December the 17th. It will be uncrewed, and it will launch from Cape Canaveral. And so this will be the first of two demonstration flights to and from the International Space Station for Boeing. So I'm not exactly sure when the next crewed flight will be to the International Space Station. Of course, Christina Cook's mission was extended. I don't think she comes home until February, so I don't know if there's another flight in between there. I can't seem to get I have the slowest internet ever of anywhere, so I can't seem to get to that page, but that's what I've got. This is K5KTX.
Kelly, thank you so much. I knew you had the answer to that. Timothy, KC3, CPU. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, I'm also wondering when the next extravehicular activity is going to be occurring.
Timothy, we just had an all-female EVA, if that's what you were looking for. That just occurred in the last 24 hours. Is that what you're looking for?
Yes, I caught that one. When's the next one?
I'm not sure when that one is. Kelly, can you help us out one more time? Do you know when the next EVA is scheduled to happen?
All right, so I finally got this page to come up, and goodness, let's see, there is that's January. I want to go to January. It looks like we may, let's see, let me see what this, I can't get it to go, hold on. Okay, I'm not getting this page to come up, and I don't know. I can't find the next spacewalk.
Thank you, Kelly. Go ahead. You might have the information.
this is KG5P. Were you directing it to me, Chaz?
Yeah, I heard you in there. Did you have the information about the next spacewalk?
Okay, well, I'm looking through an app that I have called nextspaceflight.com, and you can download the app. They didn't say anything about the next spacewalk, but they say in March of 2020 is, wait a minute, that's not right either. I lost it here. Hang on just a second here. I had it here, but it's the next resupply space station, or the next crew change. They'll send up a new crew. And I flipped through all the launches. There's lots and lots of launches going on, and let me check it here real quick, and I'll get back.
Okay, I need to get through with this segment so we can go on to the next one. Thank you, Mike. So as the moon wanes during the last half of October, so do these words. And until next time, keep looking up so you know what's up. And this is Chaz, KF5JHA, back to net control. Thank you, Tom.
GUS, recheck.
W5GUS, go ahead, Chaz. Gus, I'll get it right.
Okay, thanks, Tom. Hey, Chaz, I was wondering how was it determined that the two objects that Tom mentioned, how was it determined that they were extrastellar? Peculiar orbits? If so, how so? W5GUS.
You guys, a couple of things. One is, of course, yes, you're right about the orbits and the speed, not just the orbits, but also the speed. And also, they're looking at the stuff that's coming off of them. With a comet that's coming through, we can see some vaporization of some stuff, and we can identify some of the elements, which is not quite in balance with what we see in our own solar system. So there's a few different ways. These are good guesses on our part that these are outside of our solar system. It's not 100%, but orbits indicate that it came out from way out beyond our solar system. Does that give you your answer, Gus?
It sure does, Chaz. Thanks. I thought maybe orbits, but I didn't think of the outgassing of the remains flying off. Thanks. Thanks, Tom. Back to net, W5GUS.
It's KG5P with what I was looking for.
Go ahead, Mike.
Okay, the next the next crewed mission to the Soyuz will be on March 20th of 2020, and the replacement crew is going to be 2 Ruskies and an American, Christopher Cassidy. And this of course, will be from the Baikonur Cosmodrome in Kyrgyzstan, where they've been doing this for quite some time. KG5P.
All right, very good. Thank you, Mike, and thank you, Chaz, and thank you, Miss Kelly, everybody. It was most helpful this evening on all the information. All right, this is KE5ICX and net control for this evening. Space launches, I pull information from Space Coast Launches from spacecoastlaunches.com, spaceflightnow.com/launch schedule. I only had 2 things listed. Neither of them are this week. They are in the month of October, and they're to be determined. One is in the Sri Harikota region in India, the Satish Dhawan Space Center will be launching India's Polar Satellite Launch Vehicle, or PSLV, designated PSLV C-47, will launch from the first Cartosat 3 Series Earth imaging and mapping satellite of the Indian Space Research Organization. This was delayed from mid-2019 or July 29th. They scrubbed that mission. The second one, also to be determined, is on a Falcon 9 Starlink 1. This will launch from SLC-40 at Cape Canaveral Air Force Station. That's just across from the Kennedy Space Center. The SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket is expected to launch the second batch of approximately 60 satellites for SpaceX's Starlink broadband network, a mission designated Starlink 1. That one was delayed from October 17th. There are no solid dates for this or any other missions for the rest of October, so you're just going to have to wait and see what happens. These may be just completely run out since these were estimates earlier in the month. All right, this is KE5ICX. The next thing we have is recent astronomical discoveries with Brenda, WB5OZL. What do you have for us this evening?
Thank you, Tom. This is WB5OZL. One article, it is entitled Gas Waterfalls Reveal Infant Planets Around Young Star. The birthplaces of planets are disks made out of gas and dust. Astronomers study these so-called protoplanetary disks to understand the processes of planet formation. Beautiful images of disks make the Atacama Large Millimeter Submillimeter Array, ALMA, and how distinct gaps and ring features in dust, which may be caused by infant planets. To get more certainty that these gaps are actually caused by planets, and to get more complete view of planet formation, scientists study the gas in the disks. In addition to 99% of a protoplanetary disk's mass is gas, of which carbon monoxide gas is the brightest component, emitting at least at a very distinctive millimeter wavelength light that ALMA can observe. Last year, 2 teams of astronomers demonstrated that a new planetary hunting technique using this gas. They measured the velocity of CO gas rotating in the disk around the young star HD 163296. Localized disturbances in the movements of the gas revealed 3 planet-like patterns in the disk. In this new study, lead author Richard Teague from the University of Michigan and his team used new high-resolution ALMA data from the disk substructures at High Angular Resolution Project, that's D-SHARP, to study the gas's velocity in more detail. With high-fidelity data from this program, we were able to measure the gas's velocity in 3 directions instead of just one, said Teague. For the first time, we measured the motion of the gas rotating around the star, towards or away from the star, and up or downwards in the disk. Teague and his colleagues saw the gas moving from the upper layers toward the middle of the disk at 3 different locations. What most likely happens is that a planet in orbit around the star pushes the gas and dust aside, opening a gap, Teague explained. The gas above the gap then collapses into it like a waterfall, causing a rotational flow of gas in the disk. This is the best evidence to date that there are indeed planets being formed around HD 163296. But astronomers cannot say with 100% certainty that the gas flows are caused by planets. For example, the star's magnetic field could also cause disturbances in the gas. Right now, only a direct observation of the planet's
could rule out the other options, but the patterns of these gas flows are unique, and it's very likely that they can only be caused by planets, said co-author Untitled Mae of the Carnegie Institute for Science, who tested this theory with a computer simulation of the disk. The location of the 3 predicted planets in this study correspond to the results from last year. They are all likely located in 87,140 and 237 AU. The closest planet to HD 163296 is calculated to be half the mass of Jupiter. The middle planet is Jupiter mass, and the farthest planet is twice as massive as Jupiter. Gas flows from the surface toward the midplane of the protoplanetary disk have been predicted by theoretical models to exist since the late 90s, but this is the first time that we have been observed. Not only can they be used to detect infant planets, they also shape our understanding of how gas giant planets obtain their atmospheres. Planets form in the middle layer of the disk, so-called midplane. This is a cold place, shielded from radiation from the star, Teague explained. We think that the gaps caused by planets bring in warmer gas from the more chemically active outer layers of the disk, and that this gas will form the atmosphere of the planet. Teague and his team did not expect that they would be able to see this phenomenon. The disk around HD 163296 is the brightest and biggest disk we can see with ALMA, said Teague. But it was a big surprise to actually see these gas flows so clearly. The disks appear to be much more dynamic than we thought. This gives us a much more complete picture of planet formation than we ever dreamed, said co-author Ted Bergen of the University of Michigan. By characterizing these flows, we can determine how planets like Jupiter are born and characterize their chemical composition at birth. We might be able to use this to trace the birth location of these planets as they can move during formation. The National Radio Astronomy Observatory is a facility of the National Science Foundation, operated under cooperative agreement by Associated Universities Incorporated. Okay, that's the end. Back to net. This is WB5OZL.
All right, thank you, Ms. Brenda, and this is KE5ICX. I'll take any final check-ins. We're down to near the end of the net. If anybody would like to join us this evening, please come now with your call sign, your name, where you're transmitting from.
Bravo, number 4, Mike, Foxtrot, India, WB4MFI, Ted, Dallas, low power.
Oh, 5, Alpha, November, Papa, Allen in Dallas.
All right, I got 2 more. I was worried about you, Ted. You usually check in earlier, but I got you. WB4MSI, Ted in Dallas, and I got K5ANP, Allen, also in Dallas. Thank you both for checking in. All right, probably won't go through. I'm kind of tired. This has been a long day today. I wanted to mention, instead of giving you satellite passes, go to heavens-above.com. It's heavens with a hyphen and a .com. Put in your longitude and latitude. You get a lot of information on passes advances that are coming up as far as visible satellites. You can also do the same thing when it comes to amateur radio satellites. You don't need a special program. You just need to be able to go to the website, plug the stuff in, enable your cookies, and yeah, the cookie thing has to happen. And you put in your longitude and latitude of your city, and you'll be able to find out what's going on up there crossing the sky during the day and evening. I want to thank everybody who was at the TechNet on the Hill, our annual celebration of TechNet, which begins at 7 o'clock. If you're not aware of that net, come back here next Saturday night at 7 for TechNet. You can ask questions and answer questions of technical nature about amateur radio. Also, don't forget, I think we have a meeting on the air tomorrow evening. That's a DARC information net. I think I got my dates correct. That's at 7 o'clock, immediately after the traffic net, which is at 6:30. So come by then, and you can hear about all the things that the club is doing. So I'm going to end it with that, and I'll allow some time for you to get ready for the Afterglow movie net. The movie this evening is, and I always have to look it up because I can't remember the darn name of the thing. Oh, I can't find it. It's not on my list here. Oh, whatever it is. It's a Wonderful Life from 1963. We'll call it that. A Soviet film where everybody lives happily ever after. What else would you expect? So come on back in about 10 minutes. 10 minutes. The time to powder your nose, because that's what we always do in the 10-minute intervals between nets. So come back then. I'll put the clock up here on the screen, and we'll discuss another fine film. So I want to say 7-3 to everybody. We had 26 check-ins, well, 27 including myself, and I want to thank you for joining us this evening. Yeah, that's it. Do I have any closing comments? Oh, there it is, the closing part. We're always looking for net control stations for this and all the other DARC nets. We have a lot of them. If you'd like to try your hand at this, a lot of people actually find out when they do net control once, they'd like to do it again and again because, quite honestly, it is fun. Send an email to nets@w5fc.org. You can follow topics and discussion about this net and astronomy in general on Facebook and Twitter, as well as our audio-video feeds. Video archives and other useful internet resources by going to w5fc.org at the conclusion of this net. By the way, I'm moving everybody over that is on the Google Groups over to IO Groups because Yahoo Groups is going away. And so if you're on that list, you should have gotten an email stating go to the new site. So please do so, and I'll start promoting that as the waning days of Yahoo Groups happen. So until next Saturday night, this is Kilo Echo 5 India Charlie X-Ray. My name's Tom, and I'll be closing the net at 22:25 local time and returning the repeater to normal amateur use. We'll see you in about 10 minutes for the Afterglow movie net. Bye-bye. This is KE5ICX. I'm clear.
ICX, KG5P.
Hey, go ahead, Mike.
I had a section, I guess. Didn't you want it?
Such trouble in the shack today. Would you save it for next week? Would that be okay?
Kilo 5, Juliet Delta Whiskey, Plano. Why can't I hear them on here? So weird. behind the plant last time. Unless you got it.
I did.
Yeah. I don't know.
That's a boy, girl.
She smells where that food was. So, she's scratching over the chair.
Yeah, no.
I mean, it's Chris now, so I was thinking you.
Yeah, you got it. He's going to the same website, so I've seen it when it's on here. It's on UIL.org. I know. You really have updated it? Where's your phone? They do that. They do charge you for the ticket, so. I don't want it. It's something like, we're not. Shelley, then. I know there, but I'm saying, once it's online, like, we're like, ow! Ow, that was my ass. You can get it, you can jump it. You didn't ever see that dog at the camp battle on the video. That dog stood and just jumped up. Hurt him? No, another dog. Quite a big one. Ready? He's got a secret of that ability, please. Yeah. Drop it low, girl. Drop it low. Drop it low. Yeah.
Fresh nickel.
It's a hunch.
Yeah. Wow. Body all rippy.
Good. Any food or anything? I've had some later on from this one.
No.
Slurpee.
Yeah, I don't need it.
So we can make it for later.
Yeah. Over here. How long are you here?
I don't know. I'm ready to go.
I'm in a hurry, huh?
I'm ready. Yeah.
No, I'm fine. I'm not ready. I'm not in a hurry at all. If you want to stick around for a while, I can go eat pizza, but I don't want you to plan to be playing, but I'm okay. No matter what.
Yeah, I'll finish taking.
You can visit.
What time? I look like a superhero.
Alexa, up yours.
The dogs have been up there a while. You can go if you want, Mom. You have to do the. Come on, please.
Alexa, how many rupees to the dollar?
Brad, you're loud. Shut up.
Thank you.
No, but I just have to.
Alexa, thank you. What did you say?
Enjoy your night.
Very nice.
Yeah, I want you in your night.
Wow. Do I write this stuff?
Why the millennials live alone? They can be lonely because they just want devices like this to talk to them. She plays games with me too.
Really?
Yeah, she'll play Would You Rather. Any questions?
Alexa, Queen to Queen's Night 3.
Normal.
Alexa, moving Queen to Queen's Night 3.
Well, I figure if anybody else actually needs to use the repeater, they would probably be doing it by now. So this is WT9V Michael, and I'll be your host for this evening's Afterglow Movie Net. And by host, I mean net control, which means I run things. If you don't like it, find another net. And so, like, if anybody has an emergency or anything, put down the radio and dial 911. If you haven't figured it out by now, this is the Afterglow Movie Net. Okay, no, that works for Skynet, but not here. Never mind. This is the Afterglow Movie Net, and what's that? Well, for those of you that are new, we talk about a movie that was assigned this week, like homework, and then we all give our thoughts on the movie, usually in 3 or 4 rounds. The plot, then characterization, and special effects, and whatever else. Tonight's movie is Meteor Showers, or A Dream Come True, from 1963. Before I take check-ins, by special request, I'm going to hand the microphone over to my faithful assistant, Igor, who I flew in from St. Petersburg. I used Tom's air miles. Brenda swiped his card for me. Don't tell him. Take it away, Igor.
Добрый вечер, и добро пожаловать на обсуждение фильма. Пришельцами из Центурии хватило кабельного телевидения Земли. Они слышали, как космонавт Андрей поет песню о любви для космонавта Тани в последнее передаче в межзвездный космос. Пришло время загрузить взводный корабль с запасами и несколькими ядерными боеголовками для стратегического падения на Земле. К сожалению, центурионцы были не очень умны. Им удалось потерпеть крушение на Марсе. Земные телескопы подтвердили, что у центурионского космического корабля мигалевий поворот почти на 90 триллионов миль. Кто так делает? Конечно, неразумная жизнь. Присоединяйтесь к нам сегодня для советского космического приключенческого фильма «Мечте навстречу». Надеюсь, что здесь никто не говорит по-русски.
Thank you, Igor. For those of you who don't speak Russian, like myself, I have no idea what Igor said. It might be his shopping list or laundry. I don't know. I don't know. Anyway, here's a brief synopsis. And yes, I actually found one. And yes, it took a while to find this one, because this is not your average blockbuster. All characters of a space research facility are introduced and developed at some length to emphasize their warm humanity. What are you waving on the Tom has packages on the video stream. Oh, anyway. Tanya is Tom's trying to distract me. What? Yeah, anyway, forget Tom. Tanya is a radio astronomer listening for first contact. Aubrey is an engineer who dreams of life around remote stars. Aubrey likes Tanya, so shows her his crystal phone, which plays a song that he wrote about exploring space. Far away on the planet Centuria, they pick up Aubrey's song. Intrigued, the Centurions launch a crew to travel to Earth. This must have been a really, really loud radio. En route, they encounter trouble. Centurions launch a recording module to Earth. Dr. Krylov discovers that the capsule is a video log of the Centurion ship. Yes, Tom, I'm watching you. Capturing their distress and probable crash on Mars. Soviet scientists urge an assembly of a rescue mission. The rocket ship Ocean, I don't know why they named it that, is furnished with a crew, launched. En route to Mars, they encounter a massive solar burst. Powering their shields at maximum drains their energy. They had shields? Well, they can land on Mars, but not take off. This, they do. They find the Centurion ship, but only one dead alien aboard. A second ship, the Meteor, is sent from Moonbase to help. It cannot land on Mars, so launches the supplies as satellites and lands on Phobos. Audrey and Ivan find the Centurion escape pod on Phobos with the alien woman barely conscious. The emergency ship can only carry two, so Audrey stays behind. Ivan takes alien woman to Mars. They all meet up on the ocean, which is now able to blast off. They return to Earth triumphant at a friendly first meeting with aliens, a successful rescue. Even though it cost dearly, Audrey. The actual ending is ambiguous. Audrey and Tanya, at the lake on Earth, are called by Paul to report for launch. Was it a flashback of Tanya's about good old days with Audrey? Or was it all actually a fanciful dream conjured up by, Andre's romantic ocean song? You decide. Apparently this is considered a sci-fi classic. Does that just mean it's old? Anyway, I suppose it's time to take check-ins. Please let us know your call sign, name, location, and whether you've seen this fine film, or if you'd just like to comment on other people's comments or other Soviet propaganda films. So, I suppose... One second. We'll take check-ins now. Please come now. Name, location, call sign, name, location, and whether you've seen the film.
Number Tango 5, Tango Mike, Tony and Ellis. Yes, I saw the film.
Kilo Mike 6, Alpha Victor Whiskey, Brent in Highland, California, and yes, I saw the film.
Kilo Echo 5, India Charlie X-ray in Louisville. I'm not sure I saw it. Sounds different from what I saw, but I'm pretty sure I saw it. I'll say I saw it. KE5ICX.
Kilo Golf 5, Southeast John. I unfortunately did not see the film, and this is Frank in Flower Mound, Texas.
When somebody else is checking in, I'll say that there was a double on that last one, and I caught a little bit from Frank. I didn't catch your call sign. So would Frank go first, give me your call sign, and then the other person, and then after they go, everybody else?
Hello, Golf 5, Zombies Need Jobs. That's a ZNJ. And this is Frank in Flower Mound, and I did not see the movie. Back to you.
Whiskey Bravo 5, Oscar Zulu Lima. My name is Brenda. I live in DeSoto, and I confess I saw this fine film. And Frank is back. Welcome back, Frank.
Please don't talk without direction from net control. Anybody else that's seen the film?
Kilo Golf 5 Bravo Zulu Whiskey J near Weatherford. I saw the film.
Doubled with J. Please, other person that doubled with J, go again, please.
Number Tango 5, Tango Mike, Tony in Dallas. I'm very confused, and I did see the film, but I don't know if I should be rechecking here or not.
I got you. You were at the beginning. You else want to admit to seeing this film, or just want to get in on the party? Well, all right, we'll try again in a bit, and see if anybody else has wandered into the club while we're doing our thing. So, as usual, since, you know, y'all are used to this and I'm just kind of a newcomer, we'll go with Tony, since he's first. Good luck, Tony. Tell us what you thought of the plot of... What did I call this thing again? Oh yeah. Meteor Showers.
Well, thank you for being net control, because we're all very sleepy, and so, as you noticed, I'm easily confused at this point. You could mislead me into all sorts of things. Perhaps I'm a Russian vampire, or a vampire who only preys on Russians. I don't know. What I do know is it's late at night, and it's hard to obey reasonable instructions, but I'll keep trying. I did watch the movie, and it was really surprisingly interesting. It was, boy, I think in the purges of the 30s, Stalin destroyed pacing. Pacing was the name of one of the people he had executed. Because we got a lot of human interest, we got a lot of chance to appreciate the characters, these young cosmonauts. They're going off to Mars, and of course there's this sacrifice. I remember at one point when they have to carry the alien cosmonaut down to Mars so she can be interviewed by the others, one of the humans says, "Is there nothing?" And he's told, "No, there is nothing but the waiting," meaning waiting to die. So, yes, the plot was at times boring, as we had long patriotic music montages. The plot was at times gripping and appropriate, as people died, cosmonauts marched through Martian dust storms to save an alien from another star system, and that was very intense, and I paid attention closely. And then suddenly they ran the film, and maybe the whole movie was all a dream and these cosmonauts had not launched yet, or perhaps I'm mistaken. But the plot was a good effort, but very, very unevenly paced, and that was a bit disconcerting. NT5TM.
Yeah, I'm not really sure what we're going to get on the plot tonight, because usually I manage to make some notes when watching these things, and this time I was just kind of like, confused. Brett can help unconfuse me, or unconfuse the rest of us. Brett, what do you have to say about this remarkably fine film?
Kilo Mike 6, Alpha Victor Whiskey. I don't know that I can unconfuse anybody on this one. I'm a little confused myself. It was interesting, to say the least. I think I've read a couple of reviews online about it. There's not too many of them out there, but definitely the political tones, if you really watch it, are there. And the Dr. Landon, or whatever his name, one of the reviews I read was talking about how that represented the West and our view on an encounter with persons or aliens from other planets being all paranoid and hostile, whereas the Russian view was that, oh, let's welcome everybody with open arms and not worry about their intentions of possibly harming us or whatever. But I don't know. I think had I've been able to understand the language, as opposed to trying to read the subtitles, which were had a little bit to be desired. Probably could have got a little more out of this one. So I'll leave it at that for now. KM6AVW, thanks.
Thank you very much. Good to have you on from California. That's pretty cool. It's interesting when people from way out away from Dallas check into the net and participate. It's a really cool thing. Tom, you said you saw something, but you weren't really sure if it was this. So what do you have to say about what you think you saw?
Well, thank you, Mike, and this is KE5IC. I don't know what I saw. I wasn't sure. I thought maybe I was seeing an early version of Ad Astra, to be honest with you. A couple of things that drive me nuts when it comes to stories, particularly movies, but it's more commonly done in television more than it's done in movies, because movies are supposed to have beginnings, middles, and ends. The characters should learn something out of whatever the experience is. Usually they're better because of it, although that's not always true, especially in superhero movies, but in any case. So my thing is, my biggest beef, outside of I didn't understand anything that was going on, which was anything and everything, is the fact that the ending came up with exactly what you said, which is this a dream? I don't want it to be a dream. I want something to have happened. I could pass out and have a dream and then wake up and I'm back where I started. What good does that do me? Nothing. Let me reset. I was confused by the gravity thing, although it was kind of interesting. Phobos and Deimos has been picked as places to land, and in 1963, we knew enough that maybe indeed the better thing to do would be to land there and observe the planet from below, and that continues to be a viable thing even today. So that part was kind of interesting. The oversized television sets were quite amazing. I found that really kind of cool in a kind of cool way, with the weird cars and the little tiny people watching them. We've seen that sort of thing before, so I don't know, that was kind of helpful. I'm going to have to broadcast this to everybody on the planet. There's some things that are technical that I'll hold off for later, but I found Tanya and Tanya's boyfriend kind of excruciatingly boring. They weren't interesting at all, and when they did find the Martian gal, she seemed a little more interesting, and I liked her long head thing. That seemed to give her more going on. But I digress. I'm not talking about the plot because I didn't understand the plot. But thank you for explaining it. It actually made more sense in Russian than it did in English, so if that's any help. So I've fudged long enough on this one. I don't know what else to say about the plot, except it reminded me of Ad Astra. And we'll do that, I'll tell you why with all the technical stuff later on. This is KE5ICX, back to World Control.
World Control. Thank you, Tom. I appreciate the upgrade. My faithful assistant, Igor, says that I just got an upgrade, which is fine with me. I don't mind an upgrade. But then what I was actually thinking about saying just kind of went out of my brain. It'll probably come back to me at some point. Maybe. You should probably hope it doesn't. KG5, zombies need jobs. Hello, Frank. I've heard about you. I think I've heard you once or twice, but I don't think we've ever spoken. But it's your turn. Tell us what you thought about the plot, or what you... Well, since you didn't actually see it, well, you could tell us what you thought about the plot I read, or what other people have said about the plot. Just, or whatever. Tell us what, where you've been lately.
This is KG5ZNJ. Привет, Igor. Спасибо за synopsis. Well, that's about all the Russian I know. I didn't see this movie, but I think it might be a contender to go toe-to-toe with the greatest science fiction series of my home country, The Fine Dominion of Canada, which is known as The Star Lost, and perhaps we could set up a 1970 Summit Series style event where they could go toe-to-toe and see which is the better. However, I didn't see this movie, so I can't say very much about it now, can I? Other than I regret not seeing it. I've been busy with life, and I'm trying to make a comeback. KG5ZNJ, back to you.
We wish you the best of luck with making that comeback, and it's good to hear you on the net. And thanks for checking in. I'll probably call on you next time, and you can just say nope if you don't want to go any further, and I'll leave you alone after that. But I'm kind of, difficult that way. Miss Brenda, WB50ZL, you saw this. I seem to remember you weren't too fond of it, but tell us why. At least the plot part. Take it away, Brenda.
This is WB50ZL. You stole my thunder. You told people I didn't like it. I kind of object to that. Well, I don't speak a word of Russian. I'm sorry. Maybe a few food words, but that wouldn't relate to the movie. So, I remember the 60s well. And what I remember about Russia is there was all this propaganda. They were always talking about how wonderful their country was, how they invented everything first, how they were superior to the rest of the world. And I remember being fairly amused by this, as were a lot of people, that they were this kind of, I won't say backward country, but they definitely were struggling, and they were acting like they were better than the rest of us. And that is what I see in this movie. We've got all these beautiful people and scientists and this beautiful country, enormous TV screens, and it looks like a world of prosperity like we've never seen. the plot was muddled. I can't even talk about the plot. It's just ridiculous. So I won't even try. I had trouble telling the people apart. I had trouble figuring out what was going on. Now, the sets were great, but the music was abhorrent. And that's all I'm going to say now. I'm going to have some more for later. This is WB50ZL.
You don't like Soviet marching songs? Okay, whatever. I can't really blame you. So, Jay, somewhere near but not in Weatherford, as Tom likes to emphasize, GG5BGW, what do you got for us? I hope you took notes and have them all organized neatly, because we all need it, basically, because we're all lost.
This is KG5BCW. No, I didn't take any notes. I'm not sure. The plot was confusing. I'm kind of echoing a lot of. I want to echo a lot of what's already been said. On top of that, I remember there's some basic plot holes, like or it was like not even plot hole. It just they inserted this just to move the plot along, like radio contact loss. Well, okay, why did they do it the way they did? I can't even remember what they did. And there was even the logistics of the whole mission somehow got muddled. I didn't quite understand why somebody had to be left behind because of the, I mean, I know that the emergency ship was to go down to Mars and whatever, but how, if they only could fit 2 people, how were they going to pick 3 additional people up? Or what was the whole point of that? I'm not really sure. I wondered how much of this was part of due to translation. I don't think it is really. Let me reset. Okay, to sum up, yeah, I'm in the same boat as you. I don't know what happened with this film, and it's been hard to really even care. I was expecting something just a little bit better than that, and I don't know why I was expecting something better, but I figured it'd be a propaganda film, and I'd be all, whatever. It didn't even. I really don't even understand how it is supposed to function as a propaganda film. I'm so confused about it all. KG5BZW.
I can't blame you for being completely lost, because I'm basically completely lost. I'm probably going to steal something off the web that I found, and if anybody's interested, send me an email and I'll tell you where I found it. But one of the things that, in this, why is this movie fun? Apparently there's the Cold War angle. The writers took a few digs at the West via Dr. Langston, the American colleague of the Soviet head astronomer. Langston, frets that the first contact would be hostile and suspects invasion. His fixation on the evil intent of the others is a blatant counterpoint to the Soviet idealism and fixation on friendliness. And, we all know how that turned out. But, yeah, it's just, there's not a whole lot I can say at this point that hasn't already been said. There's supposedly typical propaganda in the movie. The hometown folk are cast as benignly human, artist, poet, playful, good with kids and stuff. They engage in chaste courtship, all these kind of things. The crystal phone invention plays music and looks amazingly like a modern iPod. One of the things that does mention is that Soviet films like to glorify sacrifice. Someone is lost in the otherwise successful mission. And the thing on that I found here goes to list several other Soviet films where somebody just has to die because that's kind of the way they made films, and that may explain why some of the people died that didn't need to. But I don't know, enough of that, because I don't know what I'm talking about either, because I really am so confused with this. So I'm going to throw it back to Tony and let him try and dig us out of this with some insightful commentary on characterization. Tony, save us.
How? It would be wonderful if I could, but I have to admit to some of the exact same problems that Net Control has mentioned. There was more than one scene in the movie where I wondered, wait, are we on Phobos or on Mars or wait, who are these people? It greatly weakens the ethos of proletarian sacrifice if I'm not sure which proletarian is being sacrificed, because I can't tell them apart. So, as a character, the movie's visuals were very interesting. We had here a movie that was dark and full of swirling sands and fog, whose scenery would have been a wonderful character in the George Powell War of the Worlds from 10 years previously, except this was 10 years later. And in fact, in my search engine use, I did find a reference to this as a Franken movie, whose effects were then reused by other directors in America, because visually, the effects were a character. They were dark, they were threatening, they were interesting, but unfortunately the humans were mostly not. It was sad, it was very sad that Andre died on Phobos, but it yet took several scenes for me to realize that we were looking at Andre and not one of the other characters. They were all young and handsome and full of virtue, and I couldn't tell who was who. Likewise, the end of film question, was this all a dream? Was this all a fantasy of someone in a rowboat on a sunny afternoon, wishing that they, the young cosmonaut, were on the big new mission to Mars? We were wondering, perhaps, did this movie really happen? And so did I. And that really also underlines the characters. Did any of this happen? Were any of these characters intended to be judged as written? Or are we all meant to just buy more popcorn? So I wish I could be more of a rescue agent, perhaps. In another movie you can watch on YouTube, I could be the pilot of the first state airship, or as they said, the emergency spaceship. But I cannot be, because the characters were young and virtuous and bold and brave and utterly interchangeable and hard to tell apart. And I wish that were not so, because Slavic languages have not changed much in the past few thousand years. And if you really read them, there is so much to read, and there are such striking people, none of whom appear in this movie. And I'd like to emphasize that none of those wonderful, striking characters from all of recent Slavic literature appear in this movie. And that's what I can say about the characters. November 10 to 5, Tango Mike.
Thank you very much, Tony. I think you're echoing the feelings of many, if not most of us. I was thinking when you were talking about, popcorn in movies, some movies are clearly designed, I believe, just to sell popcorn. But I don't think this is one, because I'm pretty sure that most of the people in the film, well, I don't know, maybe the Russians would have been, going through the popcorn like crazy. But I think based on the people I've talked to and the people I'm hearing here, we would have all just been sitting there with our mouths open going, huh? KM6, AVW, Brett. Thoughts on characters?
KM6, AVW. I have to second what Tony started out with. Characters, yeah, well, let's just say that there was no Tracy Turnblad from Hairspray in this show at all. I found most of the characters to be rather bland and boring. I think the best performer was the Centurion. It's a toss-up between the Centurion that died on in the crash or the female, because their lines were so interesting that I'll just never forget them. Sorry, don't mean to be critical here, but a couple of takeaways that I took here from this whole thing was from Tanyusha. Her character said when Andre got left there on the planet, she said, "You will live. You must live." Yeah, that's realistic. And then, yes, you shouldn't die. Well, I think, you think about it from a political standpoint, all right, I guess some of the people could look at it as though, hey, I'm out here in no man's land, and live or die, good or bad. Well, at least there's a message from Tanyusha as to what you should do. Anyway, I may be going beyond characters there, but I just honestly wasn't super impressed with the characters. It just seemed like it was kind of a slow moving movie with not a whole bunch of deviation in the overall tone by any of the characters' actions or themselves. So with that, I'll pass it on back. KM6 AVW.
Hey, thanks, Brett. Once again, thanks for coming in. Thanks for making the long from California. Tom, what do you got to say about the characterization of this fine film that you sort of watched? Maybe. Could be. Not sure.
Well, thanks. There's not a lot for me to say. I am desperately scouring the internet for information on this film, and somebody out there who has watched it and actually paid attention to it. That would not be me. However, two things. One, in order to fill out my time, I am watching The Invaders, which is on right now, and we have one of those few times where you get to see inside the spaceship, which, by the way, is bigger on the inside than it is on the outside. Just wanted to let you know that. A Quinn Martin production, in color. The other part is that you do have the play off on Earth. We have the different scientists. I think you mentioned this, or somebody did, and rightly so, that Mr. Langton was obviously, or Lawton, or no, it's no Langton. Yeah, that guy. Or it could be Plankton, I don't know. At any rate, he's the guy that is the American or the Western sounding name, and he's busy being, very negative about everything, when in fact the Soviets, well, we don't know what they are, but it says CCCP, so yeah, Soviets, it's on their space helmet, it says right there. By the way, if you noticed, if you look very carefully, you'll see that underneath the CCCP, in very small Russian writing, it says, if found, drop in any mailbox. Return postage is guaranteed. The other things, too, I don't know, the characters were, somewhat generic cutout characters. The old guy who played the scientist, he seemed to be the most understanding and capable and all that stuff. He also had the heaviest equipment. If you ever notice that, the people that really matter use the heavier equipment. That much I did notice. But you need the young people to move the equipment when something horrible happens. Fortunately, nothing really horrible happened. I don't think anybody died, did they? I kind of fell asleep a couple of times in this film, even though it was an hour and 30 seconds long or something. I like the globe. I like the fact that people were talking in front of the globe. That was really cool because it suggested we were talking about where we're going and how we're getting there. There was a scientist. The scientist was there. He had the white smock lab coat thing, and he went for the okie dokie. He put his hands in those big front. They're irresistible for actors or scientists, for that matter. I won't tell you what I say over on the chat window, but I will tell you this. There's something about those lab coats that people wear in movies that just are totally to the actors and to the scientists who they portray. One other thing, too, when you got the bit players that are in there doing their thing off in the background, they look like they were just kind of like automatrons. They look like they need jobs and they're zombies. That's for you, Frank. They just don't seem to really have any idea what's going on. So, yeah, that goes into the special effects and everything with the oversized things. But at any rate, I'm vamping for time so that other people can kind of like pull together whatever things they can pull together on this film. I will mention in the next round about how much it reminds me of Ad Astra in so many ways. Back to you, World Control. This is KE5ICX.
KE5ICX World Control, thank you very much. I wouldn't have been, knowing who you were sending it back to if you hadn't let me know. So, Brenda, WV50ZL. I say you're qualifying because you got so mad at me last time when I kind of fumbled it. So, WV50ZL, what you got on your mind about the characterization?
This is WV50ZL. Yeah, I agree with everybody. You couldn't tell the people apart. They were just real white bread, Casper milk toast kind of characters, most of them. They were attractive enough. The costumes were okay. Couldn't tell them apart. But I mean, one thing this suffers from is that the plot is so insipid that you don't have anything to draw on to make characters interesting. They're just reciting these ridiculous phrases. Most movies at least have some technobabble. It's like they were using third grade words for, rocket energy, and they could take up some scientific word for scientific things. Backing up a little bit about the plot and how it fits in the culture. The Russian culture is, we're wonderful and we're going to make friends with the aliens and everything is going to be so wonderful. Look up at the big screen. This was 1963 when this movie was made. The same era, 1962, contrasts the American viewpoint. We had Twilight Zone, To Serve Man, and you all know how that went. That was a very different view of how aliens would be. So I think it's an interesting dichotomy of culture between us and them. So, back to that, WV5OZL.
I've been demoted. Oh, by the way, Igor wants to say something about the lettering on the, what? What are you doing? Right. Yeah, okay. Igor wants to say something about the lettering on the helmets. One moment, please. Stand by.
CP is actually SSSR. Soyuz Sovietsky Socialisticsky Republic. That is all.
You, Igor. Don't miss your flight back to St. Petersburg. Okay, so now that we got that out of the way, it is now Jay's turn. KG5BZW. What you got for us, Jay?
This is KG5BZW. Let's see. Yeah, I want to bring in something about how a culture that does not value individuals, or, I mean, it's not so much of, oh God, I'm trying to be clever, and the cleverness is just not happening. I was just about, okay, to retry what I was saying. Well, okay, so what characters are there? There's the the cosmonauts, there's the scientists, there's the aliens. Each has their own thing, and I just wonder if the lack of individualism of the science of the Soviet culture is part of the reason we're having trouble identifying people. I don't know. I really don't know. I'm going to hand it over to the next person. KG5BZW.
Just realized, thank you, Jay, but I just realized that I didn't give Frank a chance to throw in some shots at the movie and or other commentary. So, got anything, Frank? Enlighten us. Tell us what else you've been up to.
This is KG5ZNJ. Well, I can't say much about the characters, seeing as I have not seen the movie, but it's clear to me that this is one of those pedestrian films. Very disappointing. I will say this, though. There is a more toothsome Russian dish that may be found on Netflix, and it is called Better Than Us. If you have not seen it, I recommend watching that series. It will put the lead in your pencil. Back to mind control. KG5ZNJ.
You people are in serious trouble if I'm in charge of mind control tonight. Ooh, look out. Yeah, it's just, I don't really have anything on the characters, because I didn't have anything on the characters when I watched whatever this was. So, one comment was, Tom was talking about the dropping any mailboxes. I said, what, are there a lot of mailboxes on Mars? We didn't see a single one. How's this going to work? Just throw this out here, since I really don't have anything for characterization that hasn't already been said. I know it's Net Control's duty, especially according to Tom, to come up with all sorts of wonderful things, whether they were original or based on what everybody else said, but he didn't give me much to work with this time. Talking about the movie. It's just, yeah, anyway. So I'm going to toss this out to kind of start off the science fiction stuff, and maybe I'll have something more at the end, or maybe I'll just say, that's it, click, turn off. From the thing online, I saw that the sets and models for the Centurions have a luxurious quality. They're great to look at. The wide-eyed optimism about space travel and first contact, it's so very different from the paranoia of the 50s and later in the 70s and 80s, e.g. Alien. Striking theme among the visuals is that Russians, like Texans, like things big, huge statues. The Gagarin Square and the Congress Hall, a 5-story jumbotron brings news to the masses. Only the Soviet Union has the space program developed that can mount a rescue mission. Russians think big, like Texans and big techs. The film, this has a very bland and amateur feel. Perhaps the director did not think his audiences could piece together the story from mere dialogue. Instead of letting the characters tell their story, the narrator is constantly interrupting to tell us what's going on. Of course, we didn't hear that because we don't speak Russian. Instead of one cosmonaut saying to the other, hey, we're low on fuel, the director has them look at each other with mildly concerned expressions while the narrator blathers on about the lack of fuel. So, maybe the subtitles were better, I don't know. Anyway, we're going to go back to the top, and we're going to put Tony on the spot again for science special, okay. I'm going to say science fiction, special effects, or stuff. Anything else. Whatever. Anything you want to talk about, Tony. It's up to you.
Thank you, sir. This show had some flaws. A wheelbarrow full of flaws with the characters and all. But it did have some fun points, and I have already pulled up that Netflix series, and I started the first episode and just paused it so I can find it tomorrow morning after I've had some sleep. One fun thing that they got right in the show is that voice procedure in Russian and English is different. This is something we as radio amateurs do. In American English, or British English for that matter, we might say something like, this is water stop 4.
But in Russian, you don't do that. You are never in inanimate this, because obviously you're a person talking on the radio. So you say, I am. And repeatedly in this movie, we saw people say, like, I am Phobos, I am Station 2, I am Moon, I am Mars. You never say in Russian voice procedure, I am, or excuse me, you never say this is, because you're an animate object. This is reserved for things that aren't real. You say, I am. This was even famously in the Cold War a source of confusion when German Titov completed his all-day follow-up to Yuri Gagarin's Moon orbit mission. His call sign was Eagle, and Russian cosmonauts were all assigned these bird-like call signs, seagull and eagle and osprey and pigeon and whatnot. The American press made a great deal of fun over him saying, I am Eagle, like, is he claiming he's some strange sky god? When in fact, that was just normal. You didn't say, this is Eagle calling Moscow. You would say, I am Eagle calling Moscow. That was perfectly correct voice procedure in the 60s, and the movie actually captured it correctly. Likewise, something when I was wondering about Wikipedia that this movie got right was the visuals. This movie was full of dark but strangely futuristic visual design with these horrible monolithic statues and oddly streamlined circular spacecraft that would have looked 10 years previously in an American movie like George Powell's 1953 War of the Worlds, a movie I hated. But if you had taken the visuals from this movie and moved them back in time 10 years, they would have made War of the Worlds a much better movie. So really the visual texture was very interesting. The voice procedure was actually surprisingly good and accurate. The characters were forgettable, but hey, at least it showed how a Russian ham radio operator should operate on the air. NT5TM.
I remember being terrified of War of the Worlds when I was a kid. It's been brought to my attention that I, the novice, don't know what I'm doing yet, just getting started here, net control person, has forgotten to ask for more check-ins. And I apologize to that for anybody else out there that wanted to check in at any point. So are there any other check-ins, either RF or Echo Link, that would like to check in? I guess any other people that would like to check in. Please come now.
I am Kilo Golf 5, Alpha Hotel Juliet.
I am N5HYP. Hello, comrades.
Going once, going twice. And J. He checked in. Anything else that you want at this point, sir?
Must be an error. Forgive me. KG5's NJ.
That's okay, no worries. KG5 AHJ, I believe. What's your name? Where are you? And did you see the film? Do you want to comment?
The name is Frank here. I am transmitting from Euless, and I did not see the film. I don't have any comments on it. Just say I listen to y'all pretty much every Saturday night driving home from my friends. So I thought it was really fun. I start checking English. So this is KG5AHJ. I might need where your list is so I can go ahead and probably catch the next movie so I have something to comment next time I drive home.
Awesome. Good to have you. I will go ahead and mention it now, and then I'll mention it again in a bit, because we got plenty of time to fill. So you can either go on Facebook to Afterglow Movie, 2 words, and ask to join the group, and then every week a new movie is posted sometime during the week, and we, watch it when you can, take some notes, however you want to do it, and then join us here on the net. If you don't like Facebook, and that's quite all right, you can send a note to ke5icx@yahoo.com. That's Tom General's email address. I think it's on QRZ, so it's Kilo Echo 5, India Charlie X-ray @yahoo.com, and ask to be put on his email list, and he will send you an email. So, N5HYP, can I get your name and where you are, and if you saw the film and would like to make some comments, or if you'd just like to make some comments.
I am N5HYP, yes. Hi, this is Tom in Irving. Holly and I watched the movie. It was an interesting experience, delving back into, in Russia and in propaganda, it was wrapped into entertainment. And that's what we had here. Again, it was brought up that it was a very optimistic view of aliens. Story-wise, just was bizarrely hard to follow. Of course, I'm assuming that everybody watched the version that was in Russian with English subtitles. Some of the subtitling, the translations, obviously were kind of weird. But what was funny, and I don't know if anybody noticed this or not, during any quiet periods, you might have noticed there was just a little bit of, it felt like a little bit of noise in the background that didn't seem connected to the movie. You could hear a female voice very faintly in the background. And I almost felt like it was supposed to be some level of subliminal, messaging going on in behind the movie, which was all possible at that time. So it was strange. It was an interesting look back at an interesting time, and we had a laugh a little bit just because of that. Here's N5HYP, and I'm done. Bye.
Appreciate that, and I'm sorry for not picking you up earlier, but it's only my second time, so, don't throw too many rocks. Although I'm already being pilloried in IMs, but, that's the way it goes. I'll survive. I believe we're going back to KM680W, Brett, for special effects and whatever else you got on your mind.
Okay, thanks again, KM680W. Overall, I thought the cinematography and what they did in there, a lot of the camera shots and things that they did were actually pretty good. It was a lot of dark. There were a lot of dark tones that were used, as has already been said, and I understand trying to set the atmosphere with doing that, and certainly with depending on your ability to make realistic scenes and that kind of stuff, the darkness does tend to make it a little harder to see mistakes or things that would perhaps look less realistic. So in that regard, I think they did a pretty good job. I really don't have much else to say. You know, I guess I'll always remember that apple trees will be in flower on Mars, because that was repeated multiple times in this thing. But anyway, yeah, overall, I thought from the cinematography aspects of it, it was actually not bad. So KM6 AVW, I'll be back to the net.
Thank you, Brad. This was kind of a tough one for all of us. I think that it was a very Soviet movie, and it's very kind of alien to our way of thinking and our way of looking at things, and it was also propaganda, so that factors into it. Anyway, Tom, it is your turn. World control to Major Tom. I'm sorry, General Tom. Didn't mean to demote you. I apologize.
All right, well, okay, I get more into the technical part of it, especially when I fall asleep and then wake up and then I'm watching and I see more of what I saw. That spaceship moves, but in reality the camera moves a few inches and the spaceship moves millions of miles in that process. This one had a lot of, I thought, similarity to Ad Astra, which we talked about on a special thing in this regard. Last week's movie, it was because of the huge spacecraft stuff that was going on, and that in this case, it had to do with sort of the blasé way they go about launching missions. You know, it's just like, oh wow, we're gonna launch this spacecraft. It's only, I don't know how many stories tall. They got one sitting in the in the parking lot behind the A&W, and they just load it up and send it on its merry way. And people are here doing their things. They get out and routinely. I mean, it's just so blasé. And then you got the three astronauts. Was it two astronauts and a gal? I forget. With whatever it was, and they're singing and dancing and doing things, and it's great, nothing wrong. By the way, you got full gravity. Amazing how they can do that in space, but who knows? The Russians were really good at stuff first, so maybe they came up with 1G gravity on spacecraft. So it's kind of I remember the little doors with the big sets. That was the other thing. You go in, you got to climb through this little door, but then you're in this big, expansive room. It takes up tons of space. The real-time communications always drives me nuts. This happens all the time in movies. The only one that ever actually did it correctly wouldn't happen until 1968 when they did 2001: A Space Odyssey, where they do the BBC News and they say we've edited out all of the time between because it was 12 and a half minutes between the Discovery and back to Earth. In this case, everything's instantaneous. Everybody gets information. And surprisingly, the Russians go ahead and do the world transmit. Everybody gets the information without any sort of filtering. So I don't know. It's just kind of weird that way. So I don't know. The other parts of the special effects, I kind of liked them. I thought that they looked good. They were over the top. Yeah, I agree with everybody. The big, huge television sets and the gigantic monolithic statues, which is what Tony mentioned. Yeah, I agree. It was way over the top. I did notice, though, that the buildings they used were typical Soviet-era block stuff. Very square, very utilitarian, very cheap. In a utopian world, you don't want to show it that way. You want to show really cool stuff. Oh wait, that was what the big television sets and the big monolithic statues were for. The buildings were there because that's the way you could do it cheaply with people that didn't look like they were super happy. But in any case, overall, yeah, this is not one I'll probably ever watch again. But the effects themselves weren't too bad. Visually, it looked okay. It was a color movie for the time, but I don't know. I have mixed feelings about it all. But in any case, no, I won't be watching it again. And the music sucked. Back to you, KE5ICX.
We're going to talk about Ad Astra.
Well, the comparisons between the two had to do with the blasé way they go about going from planet to planet, and at the very end they launch a rocket from, I don't know, Soviet America or wherever the hell they were. It's just, we're going to go that way, and it just didn't seem all that convincing. I mean, space is hard, as Tony says. It's difficult to get from one place to another without having problems, but everybody's got everything under control, can figure it out. And like most space missions that are of some substance, everything weighs 9 bazillion pounds. From the simple little chair that people were sitting at and the little desk with all the 9,000 little lights on it that looked like all it was a writing desk. You need all that stuff because you never know when you're going to be bombarded with major stuff. Ad Astra, followed that same thing. Lots of space with nothing there. I don't know. I guess okay, that's it. Bumped. Back to you, KE5ICX.
So what you're telling me is you already said stuff about Ad Astra, you just didn't mention it, and I'm okay with that. I get it. I understand. Frank, anything else? KG5, zombies need jobs.
This is Kilometer Gorbachev 5, Zukov, Natalia, Juliet. Now somehow Siri has kicked off with that. What the heck? Anyway, back to special ed. I mean effects. I didn't see the movie, so I can't say much to that. Oh, and here's my other Siri. What the heck? I will say this to Tony. If you're going to watch Better Than Us on Netflix, don't be a capitalist pig dog. Watch it in original Russian with English subtitles. Much better. Back to mind control. AG5ZNJ.
Well, thank you, and like I said, I think I'm kind of probably faltering on the mind control this time, but I'll try more next time. And speaking of mind control, it's time for Miss Brenda, WB5OZL.
This is WB5OZL. Oh, gee, I'm kind of brain dead now. I'm fighting off sleep. I don't know what I could say that would be very coherent. Special effects, gee, those little tiny sets they made out of spare parts, those were something, weren't they? And I don't know. We knew it was in space, they told us, but the spacesuits were not believable, and just nothing about it was very believable. I'm going to quit. I'm tired. WB5OZL.
Come on! I thought that the rocket blasts coming out of the rockets on this one were the best we've seen in several movies. I mean, the rest of it might not have been so good, but the rocket engine exhaust looked pretty nice. But anyway, let's see. Tom in Irving said that he was done. Frank said that he didn't see it, and so that brings us back around to Jay to wrap things up, minus any comments I might think of between now and then. Jay, what you got?
This is KG5BZW. I don't really have much to say on special effects. It really wasn't bad on several things. I actually like some of the design of the alien civilization shots, but I actually like their ship too, even though I'm not sure that it was particularly practical or anything. It's just kind of unique design compared to some just don't really see globes with lots of rockets on it too often. But set design was kind of, it had its good and its bad. I really had trouble differentiating. Not just, the characters looked similar. Well, the locations looked similar, and I had to be really sure I was actually I'm almost afraid I'm gonna confuse this week's movie with last week. But it's like there were big spaces and then there were smaller spaces, and finally recognized that the smaller space was like inside of a vehicle, and I don't know if it was just like, was there Russian writing on the walls or whatnot that made it obvious that the translator just did not add that information. I didn't see anything like that that they could have used, but I would have to admit I wasn't paying that much attention. And that's really all I've got. I don't have anything else on special effects. I probably could say it if I had really paid a lot more attention, but just don't have it. KG5BGW.
Hey, thank you, Jay. Yeah, it looks like we're going to have an early net tonight because, frankly, I got nothing other than I didn't know that Soviets had such huge TVs to talk to the people with. I think they may have made that part up. I don't know. I don't really have much to say, so I'll just stop, and I'll say that next week we are doing Mary Shelley's Frankenstein from 1994, since there's probably 47 different versions out of it. So we want the 1994 version, although it's probably much the same as all the others in the basic plot. Who knows? Might be wrong. So once again, I will say that if you're listening to this and you want to get in all of the fun and frivolity, sometimes it's better, sometimes it's worse, kind of depends on the movie. You go to Facebook and look for Afterglow Movie, 2 words, and sign up, and you get the notifications about what the next week's movie is. Hint, Mary Shelley's Frankenstein this time, 1994. Or if you don't like Facebook, and I don't really like Facebook myself, send a note to Tom at ke5icx@yahoo.com, and there's, I don't know, $2 to $5 probably, and he will put you on the email list. he does accept bribes. I know this firsthand. So, yeah, I think we're going to wrap it up here. And y'all have a great rest of your weekend, which is, you know, the next 5 minutes of Saturday and Sunday. And we'll see you next week. This is WT9V, your net control of the evening. Have a wonderful one.
Thank you for being here and staying awake. NT5TM.
Michael lies. I never charge more than $1 per person to get on the super secret, really special movie list. Did I mention it's super secret and really special? But I have a question for the group. A show of hands. How many people would like to see, I don't know, an episode or two of The Star Lost? The iconic television series that appeared on CKLW in Detroit. That's a Canadian station, but it isn't in Detroit. It's actually in Windsor. Show of hands.
This is KG5ZNJ. I have to show two hands on that suggestion. Back to you, Tom.
You do realize Harlan Ellison almost, put in a hit job on the people who produced that, right?
Oh, yes. I'm well aware of the drama that took place on that fiasco. KG5ZNJ.
You also realize that Walter Koenig appeared in not one but 2 episodes of that thing.
Yeah, there was a few cameos by some famous people in that one, and I'm sure they deeply regret it as the lowest point of the low of their careers. The bad guy from Battlestar Galactica was in at least 2 of them, I think, as well. John Colicos or something like that. And many others. It surprises you. KG5 said it, too.
John Colicos, and he was in the same episode with Barry Morris. In the pod with no women, it was all men. It was really weird.
I was just trying to bring in some extra revenue to help fund your upcoming endeavors, Tom. I mean, and then you go and ruin it.
Pod's all men, one pod's all women, and the other one's like run by a bunch of kids, and it was like they were sitting there, smoking the drapes or something like, I got an idea. Let's make the next one all old people. KG5 said it, Jay.
All right, you're going to have to stop running away for months at a time, because here's the list of movies. We got Mary Shelley's Frankenstein next week. We have, by special request, a short feature, The Solarnauts from 1967. That looks like a real winner. And then after that, we're going to do, and I will put it up tomorrow morning, The Star Lost. Do you have a particular episode you would like to watch?
Well, I know I have all of them on DVD. I haven't gone through them all yet, so let me do a little bit of research. I will send you a message within the next 48 hours, let's say. Maybe I can select one, and if you have trouble sourcing one, I have the DVDs of it. But yes, I shall give that some thought. And by the way, yes, I've been in a series of unfortunate Shanghaiings, if that's a word, Shanghaiings, by my better half to do things on Saturday nights. One of which is I had to go watch that movie about the butlers in England. Oh, God. That was not good. KG5 ZMJ.
All right, so typically what I do is, and it's quite fascinating because some of these things are available on YouTube and freely available, and others are not because of copyright. But I think some of it is it's more of a challenge to worry about. I don't know. Star Lost falls into the latter category of nobody cares, so I think just about every episode is available online in blurry vision. So if you pick one out, just check and see if it's available online on YouTube or one of the other streaming services. That's my suggestion. And yes, I have visceral reactions every time I watch any Star Lost episode. I'm always amazed at how the thing actually got made. It is quite amazing. And then to consider that John Dykstra actually worked on that show and then went on, a few years later and did Star Wars, tells you that when you've got a $1 budget with a genius guy, it still looks like a $1 budget. But when you give the guy a few dollars, he can actually do something really good. There's something to be said about that. KE5ICX.
Yeah, I'll go through my DVDs. I mean, I was actually watching them all, and I was marathoning it. Can you imagine that? I had the toughness of character to do that. But I was laughing the whole time, so it was all right. But I'll see what I can find online. Something that's watchable. I just can't imagine though somebody claiming a copyright on that. Like, just think of the humiliation of saying, "Yeah, that's mine." I just don't see it happening. I really don't. KG5ZNJ.
Yeah, it's an amazing thing. But we're critiquing the series already. But I have a love-hate relationship with that series. Mostly a hate relationship. I hate it because it is the special effects are not special. The acting is stilted, and it just lacks any sort of real depth. I love it because there's plenty of people in it, like you said, that are actors that I really enjoyed in many different series. In the episode I tell you about Barry Morris and John Colicos that are in that, those two actors do a wonderful job. They're both gone now, but they were wonderful actors that really did a great job. And even in that horrible episode, they actually played it out pretty well. You got what's his name from 2001: A Space Odyssey. I can't think of his name right now because I'm getting tired too. But he was good in it. And you had the premise that was created by Harlan Ellison, Horn Wainer Bird, as the creative consultant on the series, because he took his name off of it when it turned into this garbage thing. So, I don't know. In any case, I thought it wasn't. You have a love-hate relationship with it, and that's all I can say. KE5ICX.
Well, the really tragic part of that is that when I was young, it was played on, I don't remember what channel it was, but it was a CTV channel, which, it's a Canadian chain of television stations, and, the only kid content they had in the old days on the television was Saturday morning cartoons, and you'd get up at 5 in the morning to catch as much as you can, because you only had a few hours, and then the rest of the week was adult shows. You wouldn't watch any of that. So you watched all your Bugs Bunny cartoons, your Little Rascals, this, that, and the other thing, and it slowly ran out. And then there was one last finisher, and it was the Star Lost on Saturday morning, like late, the last thing. And it was just torture because I would sit through it because I'd have another week of no content I'd be interested in pretty much. So I'd force myself to sit there and like try to like it, and man, I just couldn't do it. Just a train wreck all the way around. Yeah, so it's a sad thing. I was reading that they were trying to invent some camera technology for that show. Let me reset. Where it was kind of like you had a model set which was miniaturized, and it was somehow connected mechanically to a camera that you'd move on it, and it would move in scale, and then they'd have another stage with actors on it, and the math was there that it would, reduce down to the model stage, and then they'd use a green screen. But and they patented this thing, and they made all these promises that, this would work, and it would be like the best special effects ever made, and of course it never worked. And it's just funny that they just started doing it really badly because their plan A failed, their plan B was just to scrounge whatever they could. So it's very funny how that show just fell apart at the seams. KG5 said it, Jay.
Well, I watched this series on, what became CTV, I guess. It was CKLW Channel 9 in, Windsor. We pick them up on U.S. television. They didn't have the barriers you have today. I've watched Canadian television now. I think it's illegal, but when that series came out, I'd heard about the Harlan Ellison thing and him being involved. I thought this was going to be great. And he promoted the series on, Tom Snyder's program, The Tomorrow Show. And then he thought that it was going to be done in Britain, and Britain passed on it. They didn't have the money, and so it was done in Canada. I'm sorry, Frank, that's just the way it was. And they took all of the super effects that they wanted to do and turned it into a chroma key thing with very bad depth of field. Today, you can get away with more of that, although most of it's digital, because you can do the light gathering and everything to make the thing really work. Let me reset. But overall, the idea really was good. It had been done before. I remember X-1, the radio program, had done a version of the Ark ship thing, and I'm sure there were other stories before that also did the same thing, where the people that are transporting the civilization on the Ark end up being killed or incapacitated, and the people on board don't even realize years, millennia later. That's a great idea, and it's well done. And I remember Harlan Ellison had put the original story into a novel he did back in, 70, it would have been like 72, I think. In any case, I wish I still had that book. That would be really cool. Read it again, because the storyline was pretty good. He used the religious thing, and you can't do anything be outside of the box, or in this case, the dome, which I thought was, a typical contrivance now, and maybe even then, but in any case, I think he put a more in-depth thing on it. But I thought that the series would have had an incredible dimension and depth, but of course it just kind of fell apart immediately. KE5ICX.
Yeah, that it did. And I'm looking at the Wikipedia page for it, and they have a drawing of that system I was talking about. They called it the Magicam. It was like, it's saying here, it was a servo-controlled dolly along with a secondary periscope camera filming a model background. So they'd be filming the actors on a green screen, and simultaneously through a periscope, and if you move one camera, it moves the other in scale, I guess. And that went on the little model set, and then they would merge them together, but it just never worked. It's just funny that somebody cooked that up, and it just didn't work for them. Anyways, I better go crash. I have to go to that darn fair tomorrow, so another misadventure I have to go on. KG5ZNJ, 73's there, Tom. We'll talk to you later.
All right, Frank, have a good evening. I was going to say, and it's really amazing because sometimes things come back from back to your mind. As a kid, I used to record these things, first on reel-to-reel, and then as on cassette. And I listened to the thing with Harlan Ellison so many times about his work on Star Trek and other shows, and he had mentioned Star Loss, and interestingly, it's coming back from the recesses. One of the things he said is that you can do with Magicam 2001: A Space Odyssey every week on television now. That's what he said, and that's what he wanted to do, but of course that never happened. Oh well. All right, go to bed. Have fun, in quotes, at the fair. It may actually be fun with an exclamation point, or it could be something else. Enjoy the fried fruit. Have a good evening, and remember, only you can prevent forest fires. This is KE5ICX. See you later, Frank. I'm still around for a while if anybody wants to talk. See ya. KE5ICX clear.
You're a corny dog for me, Frank. WT9V. And Tom, I was just trying to increase the revenue for your coming adventures, and you shot me down.
What? And you doubled with Frank or someone?
What I do. Go ahead, someone.
That was just good old KG5ZNJ saying 7-3 going clear and such as and so forth and so on. So good night, fellows. KG5ZNJ.
W5FC. You know, I told Frank, and you may remember or not, he's going to bed anyway, but when watching Channel 9 CKLW in Detroit was when they do a movie and it came off of what became CTV, I think it was Toronto, Ontario television. They would show a movie and they would put this stupid little thing on the bottom of the screen that says, "This movie is not to be copied." So of course I never did.
You've always been a good boy like that, right?
I believe people should make money off of the things they make money off of, because you can, and they should. And we should abide by the rules and regulations as specified by Stay Between the Lines.
Get back to you if I figure out what you're saying.
Please stand by. I've been handed a phone. Please stand by. I will be back in just a moment.
Do you need somebody to help explain how to use it?
All right, I'm back. I was talking to my favorite detention officer. Please continue there. What's your name? Michael. What's your WT9 Victor?
How soon they forget.
So the Star Lost is this wonderful Canadian series that we got divorced from England and then sent to the United States. And interestingly, Frank, I met Frank at the field day, and Frank is, I think, pretty close, maybe a little younger than I am. He may be younger by about 5-8 years, so he may not have seen Star Lost in its original run on CKLW, but it has blazoned a incredible branded mind memory. Mind memory, can you say that? That's superfluous. But in any case, he remembers exactly what I remember, which is very bad.
Okay, I see pictures. I just Googled it, and I see pictures that look like it was something of the early British stuff. That so if it came from there and stopped in Canada, and okay, this should be a thing. I'm not gonna say it's a good thing, but it looks like it's a thing.
Well, could you repeat? There was some QRM. What is it for QRM? In any case, would you repeat, please? The things were happening here at the house.
Oh, I see. I said that I looked it up on the Googles, and just the screenshots that I see make it look kind of like early BBC stuff. Just, I don't know, something in the way the backgrounds look, and you said it kind of came over via the Canadians, so maybe that's it. I don't know.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. I'm watching right now some of my favorite early Lost in Space. I think there were giants. I can't remember. I'm getting tired too. Can't remember exactly the name of the episode right now, but it's an early black and white. And the cinematographer on this show, he just had this thing nailed back then. It was really cool looking, and it made these expansive shots. And one of the things that really worked back then was black and white. You could really create these worlds and these forced perspective shots and things, and it was very clean and clear and everything. It just really, really, really worked well. And then when the show went to color, of course, then you had to bathe the entire set in color, and all this expansive faux pas stuff that they did just went to hell. They couldn't do it. The show looks really professional and really expensive right now. But when they went to color, you got color, but then it looked kind of crappy. Exposed all the seams everywhere. And that was, one of the things too, it was kind of interesting. Now I'm wandering a little bit, but who was it that mentioned War of the Worlds? War of the Worlds, it just doesn't hold up. Oh, Tony did. He didn't say why, but I think one of the things is that when they went in and struck it in HD and gave it the 3-color, they did something in the special effects on that. And when you see, they restruck it and gave it the high density HD picture. Let me reset.
W5FC.
special effects in that, I think it was George Pell stuff, you could see all the strings holding the spacecraft up and all of that, which was kind of sucked. But they had a way so that when they put it on the screen, it wasn't this 3-strip color, it was a 2-strip or something. I don't know, I gotta look it up. But in any case, when you get it on HD, it's pristine picture and everything's great, but you can see the strings everywhere manipulating the Martian machines. Drives you nuts. So sometimes especially with black and white films, you can create these wonderfully stark and beautiful pictures that just make it seem kind of surreal. I love that stuff, and that's why I kind of like the older black and white films in a lot of ways, plus all the other stuff that goes along with it. I digress. I'll stop. KE5ICX.
Please digress away, because when you start wandering off into all of these different ways of looking at things, I enjoy it because it's ways of looking at things or thinking about things that I haven't done. So it's kind of a broadening the horizons kind of thing. So, please digress as much as you like. But while you were talking about that, I was thinking, and looking at the black and white, you can't see me pointing on the radio, but looking at the black and white screen behind your head and thinking that it was probably a lot simpler to create the sets, to create the lighting, to put things together, because they had less that they were working with. Whereas in when it's all in color, there's more in there to be concerned with, and instead of just shades of gray, then it's gone to millions of different colors. I don't know, maybe that's part of it, and why so many things look the way they do in black and white, and the atmosphere and the feeling that it creates.
Well, the thing about film is that it allows, when you look at stage, when you're talking about stage work, one of the things about stage work is that you are held to the immediate part of the theater, okay? So, and there are ways, especially with opera and ballet, has a tendency to transcend that. And I think some of the ways that you can make that happen is when you're working through what can you do with television or what can you do with movies, and you try and make it expansive. And one of the things with expansive is with film is that you can separate yourself. You can move out, you can do different things with it. I think that one of the things that really drives me nuts right now is special effects have taken over the narrative to a point where you can't even be expressive in really positive ways at times. I'd like to see intelligent special effects, and sometimes you do. There are series like, what is one that I love? Pardon me. What's the name of the series? Man in the High Castle does that. It takes and it uses the effects to in a way that works, and it gives you this otherworldly part of it when done in a conservative but deliberate manner. What I don't like is, and that works, and it goes back to the old black and white way that they did things, creating like on more of an expansive look. It's a trick with photography, but it looks good enough to sell the audience. With special effects done in an appropriate way, where you're trying to do things that look and take you to a world that you want to be in or want to believe in, you can do that. Science fiction films are all part of that. But when you start doing stuff with improbable things, you allow people to jump over trains and do things that aren't humanly possible, and it becomes the norm. You're taken out of that world instantly, and you go, come on. This is the 555-1212 that we experience on screen. You go, oh, that's not real, and you're taken out of the moment. And for me, I can't watch really any superhero movies. I can watch things like, let me reset one more time. I can watch things like that come close, like, what was it? Gotham was a pretty good example of that, although it kind of went over the top at times. But they kept it fairly grounded with humanity and people doing things that made sense, and they created these situations, and it worked. But then you get into stuff where you've got to spend, I don't know, how much money they spend on films now, almost $1 billion on films at times, and you go, geez, this you got to have this reward for everything, and the kids want it, and it looks like a video game. You go, I'm not interested in that. It doesn't work for me because it takes me out of the experience. So I don't know. It's again one of these things where you're kind of moving between what's honest and what is flamboyant and what is totally unreasonable. I prefer the honest stuff. Oh, and by the way, I kind of like it when they tell you a story, too. That really matters. I mean, people are in a room talking to one another, expressing themselves in honest ways. I'll take that any day over $90 million of special effects. KE5ICX.
I understand. I mean, sometimes it's nice to just watch some eye candy up on the screen and eat popcorn or whatever your favorite movie snack is, and other times it's nice to get into a world and not get kicked out of it. And what I was going to ask you was that have you watched or heard of The Expanse? Not a movie. It's a science fiction series, science fiction show, but I think it's one of those where the special effects are only used to make the world and make it believable, make the universe, or the solar system, as it were, believable, and not just the science, special effects for special effects, but I think they're well done, and it's a very compelling, very interesting story. Have you watched it, heard of it, seen it, etc.?
I have, and I have watched a few episodes, and what I need to do is, this is one of these things where it's so monolithic, you gotta find a way to get through the darn thing. There's so many episodes, I'm so far behind, but yeah, it has a Babylon 5 vibe to it that I love. The characters are engaging. What I need to do is just kind of double down and watch the darn thing and make time for it. There's so much distraction on television now. Somebody came out with a series, was it a book? And I haven't read it, but I probably should. But the day that television became great, and that we're living in that right now. I mean, that sounds kind of contradictory because what was it? Television is the great wasteland, and we watch a lot of wasteland type things from movies and television. But in reality, there's a lot of really good first-rate stuff out there. So much you can't even watch it all, and you can't even share it with everybody because those things are so striated over so many different levels. It's hard to even keep up. Every day I find out about a new series or a new movie, sometimes independent type stuff, anything that allows you to have, a really immersive, great, satisfying experience. And that's difficult to, and sometimes these series, when they're television series, you find out about them 2 or 3 years into the thing, and you go, holy cow, you got to figure out a way of catching up. So that's the stuff that is really tough to do, and then you go back to the older stuff. I mean, I want to go back and watch Babylon 5, but it's 5 seasons. I'm never going to get through that thing again when there's so much other stuff out there as well. KE5ICX.
Sometimes you have to just say, I'm gonna stop, and I'm gonna actually, make an hour a day, an hour a week, somewhere in there, and watch some of these really good things that you watched before, and it's worth it. I know that season 1, 2, and 3 of The Expanse are on Amazon now. That it's all moved over to Amazon. Season 4 is coming soon, it says. And luckily, at least for The Expanse, it's only about 10 episodes per season, so it's not like network TV where you got 22, 26, depending on how old the show was per season. So, it's only 30 episodes, and you could do that, in a couple of sessions, because I think you'd really enjoy it, because it's, as you said, it's a compelling story, and it's well done. And it's a lot of those things that you were saying that you missed in so many shows.
Hi, Michael. You convinced me. I'll order it up. Well, Prime's got it, so yeah, I can watch the episodes in HD. And I agree. I have watched several episodes of the thing, and I find it interestingly compelling and worth to go back to. I just got to decide to go ahead and go in. Game of Thrones, which a lot of people like, I'm watching it. I'm in season 2, episode 5, and I'm slowly slogging through those, but I'll get there. I've not quite captured the magic with that one like other people have. I mean, I'll probably figure it out. If people fall in love with it, I got about a B+ on it. I like it. I find it interesting, and people go gaga over it. But then I like Star Trek a lot, the original series, and people really go with that. But I don't know. Maybe it's first impressions. Who knows? KE5ICX.
There's only one Star Trek, and that's the original series. And everything else is but a shadow of that, much like all of the shadow universes in the Amber series, which is also a great series of books. I've read all of the Expanse books, and I'm really looking forward to what they're doing in the future. The Expanse, in some ways, is, as you say, a lot like Babylon 5. It is a long story. It is not, it's not episodic. There are certain episodic, aspects to it, but there's also season-long story arcs, and the whole thing's moving along in a very interesting way. The books are not exactly like the movies, or the shows, but the authors of the books are working hand in hand with the TV production people. So while they don't exactly correlate, because there's like aspects of season 2 or book 2 in season 1 of the shows, and yeah, they kind of, you know, you got to make some changes when you take a book and you turn it into a TV or a movie, but they're doing it in a good way. Like the movies that Sky did in Britain of the Terry Pratchett books, they had Pratchett on the set while they were doing production, helping with the rewrites and saying, yeah, this works better in film than it did in the book, because the way it was in the book isn't going to work as well, you know, on the screen. They didn't just go, oh, we know better than you do. They worked with him on the whole thing, and so the movies were very good. They worked really well. They had the same feel as the books and the same kind of magic that those books did. And The Expanse is much the same way. And it's going to take a few episodes to really start to get into it. But I think that after, you know, if you invest that time, you'll get hooked.
There was a series podcast thing that I listened to quite vehemently when I kind of missed my travels to places because I plug in podcasts all the time. In my new job, it's now 2 years old, but in my current job, I can't listen to voices because I do a lot of writing now. And so you can't have voices, podcasts and things, so I have to switch to music, which is kind of disappointing, and it allows me to re-engage music, but it also disconnects me from some of the things that people do in the podcast world. And one of my favorites was Slice of Sci-Fi, which was a series that's kind of gone the wayside now. All those people have dispersed because nobody makes any money off of podcasts. But they always said in any series, they say, you got to at least watch 3 episodes. And today, because of storylines, story arcs and all that, I think it's got to be at least 5 to 8 to really understand what all is going on, which is counter to what happens with television anymore, what used to be with television, because you had to have huge audiences. Today, you don't have to do that. All you have to do is tease people in with a streaming service, and eventually you draw them in, and then you have them hooked. Here, have this free episode. You'll like it. Come back to me later on. Type of thing, but you have to do it over a longer period, I think, too. So in any case, yeah, you're right. Babylon 5 was one of those series that I watched, and I thought, this doesn't look all that good. But the stories were compelling, and I liked it a lot. And Joe Straczynski was on there all the time. You could talk to him anytime. I talked to him several times about the show, which was really cool. I mean, this guy was doing other stuff. I'm surprised he's still alive and still kicking, because he pretty much almost killed himself on that series in trying to make everything work and keep the fan base happy and all that stuff. But he wanted to do, and what has become now normal with television, as to have a story arc, and the characters are interesting, and they evolve, and they do things, and all that. He believed in that from the very beginning, which was very risky back in those days of television back in the 90s. Today, that's the norm. And I'm cool with that. I really am. I just got to be disciplined. I got to be a good viewer and watch these things and see what they do. KE5ICX.
That's very true, WT9V. And other younger people have mentioned that it's like, well, what's so special about Babylon 5, you know, we got all the, well, yeah, but it was the first TV show that really did the whole, we're going to tell a story. We know what the story is. The story is going to take some time. And as Straczynski said somewhere recently, I think it was on his Twitter feed, that, you know, it's a story in 5 parts, like a classic novel, you know, and the first season is just introduction. It's introducing all of the characters, it's introducing the ideas, it's introducing everything. And I was rewatching, I need to go back and start rewatching again, I think, from the beginning, but I was rewatching something in the I don't know, 3rd or 4th, maybe 6th episode in season 1, and Ambassador Kosh makes a comment, and I'm like, oh, that is so foreshadowing, and I did not even catch it the first time through.
Well, Straczynski would make comments, and he says, I'm going to put this stuff out to you in plain sight. And a lot of times he did. And I think one of my favorite things, and we're going to go into Babylon 5, but one of my favorite things is that we hated Kosh. He was an enigmatic character. Nobody knew who he was or what he was doing. And then there's this very touching scene between Sheridan and his father. They connect. And in the process of that, you're going, wow, what a wonderful thing that they're able to connect in such a, you know, an elemental way, a way that you would want any parent to communicate and to talk to you and get down and I feel your pain, I know what's going on, I understand why, and I can't tell you how proud I am of what you're doing, only to find out that it's Kosh talking to him, and then Kosh dies. He gets killed like seconds later. And you go, wait a minute, how can you do that? Yeah, it's clear manipulation, but it's kind of cool in a way. It also is metaphorical on how it's handled, because that's what happens. You know, you have a parent and then they're not there, and then what happens, you know? I like the way it's handled and the complexities of the story that it leads up to that point, because if you're watching the series, you know the nomenclature, you know what's going on, you know the people, and you feel it. The other part of it is it's very smartly done, because it works on an elemental, visceral level. If you've never seen the series before, you watch that episode, you feel struck by it, because you have your own personal experiences that go along with it. Joe Straczynski does a really good job with that. He sometimes has trouble with action scenes, which have a tendency to look forced, but his best stories, the best way he tells stories, is on the personal level, on the one-on-one. And that's what really shines in Babylon 5 more than anything else, I think. KE5ICX.
Yeah, that's true. There are so many wonderful scenes that are just two characters back and forth between them. You know, in the elevator, in one of their rooms, one of their cabins, so many different places that it's just these well acted, well done, There were a lot of scenes watching Babylon 5 where I would just get shivers down my spine from how much I had been drawn into it. And I think I kind of feel the same way, like you say, about The Expanse, and I think that you're going to really enjoy and think that it was worth your time to get into that.
All right, well, I'll go there. You know, it's 12:45. It's probably bedtime. but I appreciate the conversation. I enjoyed it a lot. Tracy Turnblad? Was that you who said that?
That wasn't me, WT9V.
I wrote that down in my notes, and I don't know why. I thought it was funny. I put an exclamation point after it. Well, you know who she is. I know who she is. All right, I'm going to head to bed and turn this thing off. But it's fun tonight. It was a good discussion. And you missed out on TechNet on the Hill. It was really good. It had some super presentations and some really good ideas and having to do with stuff. It's still kind of swirling in my head, everything that they did. I think the best part I enjoyed was all of the antenna stuff that they talked about, which was uber cool. All right, I digress. Michael, have a good evening. I'll catch you another time, and you'll have a USB headed your way. You know what to do. KE5ICX. I'm going to say 7-3. Have a good evening. Go to bed. You need to. And I'll be clear after you.
Well, it's been a long day for me also because I got up at like 7:15 this morning so I could make it to the RWK breakfast at 8 o'clock, which only happens once a month, thankfully. And then I came back and I talked to Boy Scouts for a couple of hours until the Jamboree on the Air thing started to wind down. And then I went over to some other friends' houses, and they fed me some excellent enchiladas and then beat me at backgammon several games. And then I came back over here and went, oh, I'm not prepared for the net tonight. And yeah, so that took a little bit of time. But I'm glad y'all had fun, and I'm glad you had a good day and you maybe learned something and had some fun and all that kind of stuff. Now, go cuddle with Gromit, and y'all have a good night, and I'll talk to you later, Tom. 73 WT9V.
All right, Michael, have a good evening. KE5ICX. I'm clear. 7-3. Bye.